I like that your pad lights up.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I had it for like 3 years, and I just never used it. And then when we were setting up the studio again, my buddy David, like his whole life is like wire management, so he helped me like redo all this. And he was just like, "You should just put it in the middle. It'll look cool."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." We get coasters, a light in the middle.
Yes. Well, it is. It's like one big coaster. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
We could just start here. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi.
I am so very happy to meet you. You are a hell of a performer.
Thank you.
I saw you guys for the first time in, I want to say it's earlier this year at Launchpad, and then I saw you again at Summerfest, and fuck, you guys are a bunch of killers.
Yeah. Thank you.
All of you. Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations on your streaming show you got coming out on Friday.
Thank you.
Definitely want to get into that for sure. Before we do, get a little bit of this.
Yes.
There you go. However much you like.
Oh.
Let's.
I mean, in tradition, I can't pour for myself.
Yes,
You
this is
pour,
true.
You know.
This is very true. Just let me know when.
That's perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Because I mean, the beautiful thing is you can always pour more.
Yeah.
Right?
You are a whiskey person. All right.
I'm stoked to be here. I'm very stoked.
Well, cheers.
Yes,
Thank you
cheers.
so much. This is an absolute pleasure. I know I said I wanted to start at the beginning, but I got to put this out in the front because I know a lot of people want you to hear this like from coming from me. Like I've had the privilege of meeting so many musicians in this town. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple common denominators. Mm-hmm. And one of those common denominators is you're the top. You are like I was telling you in our messages, you are the queen of Albuquerque music.
Oh, man, thank you.
And the amount of respect that you have garnered from, I'm talking like punk, metal, whatever you qualify the Mango Cakes as, because they do so many different things. They all love the shit out of you.
Man, thank you.
So you grace
Thanks,
you grace
guys.
this.
Thank you. As your queen, I think. No, I mean I'm very. That makes me very happy to hear, and I mean I'm blessed. You know, I feel like that is something that if you had asked me 12 years ago when I started in this scene in particular, and in doing music, like I would never have thought I'd be here. You know, where I am, because I really like, it occurred to me years ago that like the community is what you make it. And it isn't necessarily like, I mean, you can get into somewhere and it's scary. It's scary jumping into a scene. It's scary being an artist, being a musician. It's scary putting yourself out there, right? And
that's why I'll never do it.
but I mean, to do it in a scene that necessarily isn't welcoming and might be hard for some people. And I was like, I want to build a community in that, you know, and really, I feel like I grew up with a lot of people who've been on your show, like the Rhythms. I like grew up with them. We started as baby bands together. And
Awesome guys.
Played awesome guys, and just it's grown so much. So to know that I have been an influential part of that makes me very happy and just makes me beam.
That's awesome. That is. I'm not even gonna add to that. That's just awesome. So 12 years ago is when you started music professionally. Are you born and raised here in Albuquerque?
So not born, but raised.
Okay.
And I actually grew up in the mountains. I grew up out in Sandia Park into Harris.
Okay.
And shout out to the East Mountains.
But New Mexico through
Mountain
and through.
kid, through and through,
Awesome.
New Mexico. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I started actually music when I was in high school. So I actually started, my first band was with I called it my old man band. But I played with a bunch of my high school friends' dads.
Oh, okay.
And I started doing covers with them because in the mountains there, if you went with your parents, you know, you didn't have to leave at midnight. Well, I had to leave at midnight, but I didn't have to leave in general. I could like play.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started playing music there, and then really stepped into my own, I think, career as a musician in 12 years ago with Red Light Camera.
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. That's kick-ass. So has music, like growing up prior to that, was music always a part of your life? Was it something you looked at and you're like, this is a lot more than something that I love. This is something I want to do eventually. This is something I really want to, dedicate my time to? Or did that gradually grow on you as you grew up?
I mean, I was always kind of a loud kid, like in general.
You're in good company. You're in good company.
My mom called me Motor Mouth Machon because I just could talk when I was little. But I sang and loved to just like put on shows and do things. And I watched old movies with my grandma a lot, and they have so much like dance and just theater to it. And I'm a theater kid through and through. So my parents kind of embraced that. And really, and being Filipino, we have a very performer culture. And it was really, I was lucky enough that my family embraced it. My mom really did and was like, okay, let's put you through lessons. Let's have you go through music lessons. And so I started singing and worked on, and worked on musicals and kind of mastering that craft, and did a little opera for a little while. And
oh wow,
kind of I did a lot.
that's so cool.
For a hot minute. Opera singing is a whole other challenge, but it's a muscle, right? So learning how to use my muscle in all different ways was my goal. And I mean, I took a whole lesson on scream singing and on growling, and it just to do it safely, so that I can.
I now have a new mission. My mission is now to get the red light cameras to do a fry scream in one of their songs.
Oh.
Or do a deep growl in one of your songs. Go little. That's so cool.
Challenge accepted.
That's awesome. I've been to one opera in my entire life, and it was when I was really little. Mm-hmm. Phantom of the Opera came through. I was maybe 7 or 8 years old.
That's a good starter opera.
And I just seen the movie, the old school one though, the black and white from the early 50s, I think it was when it came out. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being I was like, wow, this is so sweet. But the only vivid, I feel because I want to rewatch it as an adult, the actual performance of it as an adult now, so I can take it all in. Because as a kid, the only memory I have is there's a scene where at the end of it, they are raising the Phantom up, and the poor actor hit his head on one of the beams.
Oh.
And we weren't in the nosebleeds. This was in Pope Joy, so we weren't in the back. We're about in the middle, me and my dad. And so he's raising up, hits his head on the beam, and you just hear, "Fuck." yeah.
And you know that had to hurt.
Oh yeah.
Because actors endure so much stuff.
Yes.
And it is all about the fake that had to hurt.
Yeah. Well, because I remember them raising him kind of fast. Even my little brain was that's going a little quick, and then bam. Oh. So yeah, I would love to see that again as an adult. But anyway, so you're experimenting everywhere, and you start playing music with your dad's or your friend's parents' band. Mm-hmm. What kind of music are they playing?
So roots rock covers essentially.
Okay.
And I did a lot of Otis Redding and Janis Joplin and Aretha Franklin and CCR, and it's just it roots.
Yeah.
And I learned
soulful,
also
very soulful.
A lot. And that was where
that makes a lot of sense. No, seeing you perform, that makes a lot of sense.
I feel and Aretha Franklin's double album was my first disc set.
Oh wow.
That I remember loving. And then it kind of from going through my parents' catalogs, right? Loved Aretha's. And then I started exploring a little more. My stepdad was an 80s, early 70s, Van Halen dude, So introduced me to the Pixies and Susie and the Banshees, and kind of melded it in this way of, ooh, singing doesn't necessarily have to be pretty always either, and you can have all of these different sounds and feelings and different and that's what I as a performer want to bring through, is that it can be, sometimes it's yucky. And sometimes it's not necessarily the prettiest thing, and you don't make the nicest face. I mean, I think if you see me, there's some photos that people send, and I'm like, cool. I know exactly the word that was. And,
That's so cool. That's funny.
so, but it's yeah. There's a lot of influence that I have that I feel like it's gone through crazy phases too of I just love music. I love seeing people perform, and I feel like it's a very vulnerable way of living your truth, whether you're a physical musician or a lyricist or however you're putting yourself out there, it's a piece of you,
Yeah.
and that you're sharing, and it's cool.
So how important was it, especially now looking back? Now you have such obviously a well-rounded taste and understanding of music. You have a very established career in it. Looking back on when you were first starting, how important was it that your parents were supportive of you in the way they were? Because I feel like with a lot of people that have that creative, whether it's a creative little tick or it's like an obsession they have, a lot of that can get suppressed as a child, and they never really have the ability to express that. And if the time comes where they want to, they don't necessarily know how to, because they've grown up for so long in a household. Like, no, you're gonna follow the mold. Like, you're gonna don't worry, you're never gonna make it as an artist. You're never gonna make it as a musician, an actor, or whatever. You need to go to a school, go to college, get a job, 9 to 5, 401k. And I'm not saying anything bad with that. But there's a lot of people do not have that type of support.
Right. Well, and that's not their path.
Right.
And it's so interesting that you brought this up, because I actually was talking to my friend about this earlier today, that there's such a cookie cutter expectation, right? Of you're going to go to school, you're going to follow this career, and it's cute that you have your hobbies. And that's been a challenge.
Hobbies.
Is that, it's a lot of times, and introducing myself to people as a performer, as a musician, as an artist, sometimes I catch myself choking up, because it's it feels like I'm not doing enough, because there's been so many years of rooted, but that's not a job. Yeah, but it's cute that you do that, but that's
a fun thing you do on the weekends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a fun thing that you can do, but what are you really going to do? My parents really, they embraced my creativity a lot. I was very lucky in that way that my parents loved that I did that. And I don't know if maybe it wasn't love, but where they were we need to channel this into something, because otherwise she's going to be at home and doing this. Let's put her somewhere else.
She can go scream at other people. We need a quiet Saturday night.
Exactly. In retrospect, maybe we should put her into a project. But there was definitely, and I think it's not necessarily that they were trying to stifle me or anything, but as parents, it's a hard life. My parents have had to watch me also feel really defeated, feel really unsure, feel really insecure and unloved, because this business, and I tell people a lot that this business is hard. It's not glamorous. People are I want to be a rock star. It's it's great for that hour.
Because you only go to concerts.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of you working, and you being your biggest cheerleader, and believing in yourself more than anybody else does. And that can be really hard. That's hard to do, especially when you come from an environment that maybe didn't do that for you, where you are taught to be your own cheerleader, But I think that it's hard for parents to look at your kid and say, okay, I'm going to let you get hurt.
Yeah.
And that's where I think my parents being go to school. I went to school. I did all of it, but it wasn't for me. I am not a sit at the desk person. I am not a go through the motions. I hustle. I hustle and I work really, really hard. And I actually was in a class in UNM, and one of my professors came in, and I will never forget this moment, but she said to the entire class, "Is there anybody in here who can do anything else? And anybody who thinks they can do anything else?" And a couple of people, she's like a biology major, like, do you want to be a nurse?
Remember the class?
Yes, it was directing, and her name was Denise Schultz. And it was intro to directing. And she was this tiny little woman who smoked long Virginia Slims. And
so she has culture.
Oh, she has she has that theater culture. And she's a Southern woman. I loved her. But she came in and she said, "If any of you can think of doing anything else, then go and do it. Because this is not the job for you." She's like, because this career, this world, performing, being an artist, is going to be the hardest job that you'll ever have and the most abusive relationship. And I've carried that with me because it is sometimes, it never loves you back in the way that you love it. And that's what's really hard, is that you have to wake up and you have to be like, I'm doing it again. And maybe you went on tour and you played to 3 people who were the bartender and the door guy and the one who hired you, right? And you're just playing to hostages. And you have to get up the next morning and go to the next city and be like, and I'm doing it again, and here I am. And we as performers, we live for, Gaga said, we live for the applause, right? I tell people I'm Tinkerbell, like, your applause keeps me alive.
Oh, Tinkerbell, that's funny. That's funny.
But when it can be really hard.
Yeah. Very taxing mentally.
And yes, mentally, emotionally, physically. Yeah. I mean, because also you're not working a job with benefits and things, and sometimes you're wondering, like, do I have to go to urgent care, or is it something Windex can fix? Like,
you're right. So growing up so going through high school, you mentioned that you're like really just before you went and started with the red light cameras, you're experimenting a lot. In high school, was there anything that really stuck out to you as you're trying out different types of music, as you're figuring out what your flavor is? Like, what stood out to you? You said you're a theater kid, so...
Yeah. So, do you remember Macy Gray?
So, you're going to... I don't know if you like my response or not. The only reason I know about Macy Gray is because she is in the parade scene in Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, the original Spider-Man from 2002. She's the performer when the Green Goblin attacks the parade.
Oh my gosh.
That is the only reason I know about Macy Gray.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that she was in there, which goes in time with the times. So that was when her big release came out. And I remember her. It's going to be so left field. People are like Macy Gray, but her voice is so unique.
Yes.
And her album came out, and I remember my mom got it, and I was like, she saw her on the Rosie O'Donnell show, and we went and we got the album, the CD, and I just remember falling in love with her voice, and it was one of those that she's very like games changing in here, like, and it sits like in your nose, and I just remember being like, oh, that's so fun, and I kind of got on this weird kick, and all of a sudden becoming aware of that placement, like I saw it in a lot of other artists and things, and it changed me in a way, and I don't know, I think of Macy Gray a lot sometimes.
No, that's cool. Do you find yourself doing that even now as you're studying other musicians? You're finding these like these commonalities and all these things, like, oh, well, here's where it works better. Here's why maybe it didn't work as well. Like, one thing I always find interesting, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, how singing, it often doesn't sound good. Like, but it's good. It's good. Like, it's great lyricism. But for some reason, it's not the most like traditional. Like, but what comes to my mind is Blink-182. I always forget the main guy's name, the singer.
Tom.
Yes, Tom DeLonge. Yeah, him. His voice isolated is like, but like in front of the in front of the instruments, it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Do you, how do I put this? Like, do you find yourself like studying like a lot of music where they like, even like, I love Green Day. I don't think Billy Joe Armstrong has the greatest voice, but in front of those instruments, he's phenomenal. And they all like prop each other up. When you're, whether it was your getting into music in the start of it, or even now as you're a seasoned like veteran of the art, like do you find, how important is it when you're, even if like the lyrics and the actual sound might not be the best, but you're matching it with the instruments? Is that like a common thing you're looking for? Is that is that a conscious thought to you?
Well, I think that your question has many answers. I think that there's two different answers to that, because there's a time that I feel like I am a vocalist, and then there's a time that I feel like I'm a band member, right?
Interesting.
And I think that your examples of like Blink-182, you go to a Blink-182 show and you're like, yeah, all the small things. Like everybody's singing, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that you're on key or whatever, because he's not. We're all just shouting. And we're all just shouting, and it's fine.
He gave up like 30 years ago. So why I got here 30 seconds ago? Why am I gonna try?
But that's the music. And
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
And that's why you like going to that show, is because you let go, and because it doesn't matter, because you let all of that go, and you can be in that moment of feeling that visceral like shout. Like we have songs that you just shout to, and I hear the audience like sing along with, and it's like, it's that moment. It's our Blink-182 moment, right?
That's awesome.
Where everybody wants to sing, scream, and do that. And then I think you also have these like Adele moments, right? Where you want everyone to hang on each word
And you're just
that
in
you
awe
say.
of what's going on.
And it's just two different beasts. So I like to take those. I find those inspirations, and I weave that into my music. I feel like as a performer and musician, I like moments. I like to create moments, and I think there's that moment where we are having this, like, it's just us, and it's just me and you, and like singing these songs, and like it's in a room full of people, but it doesn't even matter. And then it's like, we're all here together, and we're shouting and we're chanting, and like, and fuck them, and there's also that. So yeah, I think
We'll talk about a moment when I saw you guys do Launchpad. You guys did a cover of Flowers.
Oh, yeah. So that was around like Valentine's Day.
Better than the original.
Oh,
I gotta be. I was shocked. Because I'm not the biggest Miley Cyrus fan, but the last album she did was great. I love that last one. And when y'all played, I was like, wow, like that was well, top to bottom, well orchestrated, the whole thing.
Thank you.
So, what did you go to college for?
Theater.
Okay.
Theater and performance.
Did you end up like making it through, graduating with a degree in theater? Did you see it all the way through?
So I got right to the end. I have a very sad story. I got right to the end, and my deans switched while I was in school. And so one of the deans was like signing off on basically like, you can go to this class instead of other requirements, right? Like I could take lighting and other lighting class as opposed to the beginning. And so that would still count. And then the new dean in those years like reviewed our credits and basically told me that I was like behind on all of these credits, and I had already taken it. And I was out of money, and I was done playing the bureaucratic game, and just was really frustrated and said, forget this, I'm going to go be a rock star, and leaned into my band really hard.
There are see, look, I've dropped out of UNM 3 times. And I've heard so many fucking stories like that, where not even just at UNM, but just in general, going to
it's a gambit, dude.
Going to these state universities, and it's just like you just said, like the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic system that's involved, and the politics and the good old boy system of where you're at. Like, no, like and because of reasons we spoke about earlier, I can't get into the details of it, but I was going to school for film. End of last year. And I think it was like right before Thanksgiving. The program that I was under that was funding it, they were like, oh, yes, so we're not funding you this semester. Figure it out. I was like, what?
Like, how can you do that?
I was like, what? How is that possible? And like you told I talked to the rep and I was like, look, I know, like, I always like, I try to preface every like customer service interaction with like, I know it's not your fault, but I'm looking for answers.
Right.
So the powers that be said that you were funding this thing, and then now did you lie to the college? What are they going to say? And the person, she was like, look, you're like my 20th call this day about this. I really don't know. The only thing they've told me to tell you is you're going to get a letter in the mail from the university.
Oh.
And I'm like, is it a letter or is it a bill? And
Right.
I'll never forget this. She goes, I was told to tell you it's a letter. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Oh, that
Okay.
moment where you're just like, I get it.
Yeah. It's like we're all okay. I was like, all right, yeah, have a great day. Like, I hope the next guy's not an asshole. Like,
Yep.
have a great day. And yeah, I'm done. I've decided I'm done with college. And it really sucked because like I went to college initially for criminology. So I was just,
wow.
I was just young.
Oh,
yeah.
we should talk true crime sometime
Oh,
because I
yeah.
am such.
Well, that's what got me into it. So, because I was going to a military junior college down south, and I was like, well, I went there for 4 years of high school, and then I was like, I don't really want to go to UNM. I don't want to move back home. A lot of my friends are still here. Criminology, I was told, is easy. I like Batman. He's a detective. All right, I'm going to do criminology. And at the time, I was like, maybe I want to be law enforcement. That didn't really work out, thankfully, because I would have hated that into my 20s now. I would have not liked it. But I liked what I learned. So I was like, okay, maybe UNM's the same. And UNM, in all their glory, even though I had an associate's in criminology, they were like, you can't go to the College of Criminology because you don't have, it was like a social studies credit. And then it was some like, not a tech credit, it's like an English credit or something.
Some lab that you didn't need to take.
Yeah, it was a
of, like,
lab.
20 people, like,
yeah. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do then? They're like, well, you can't get into the college, but you have all of your, like all your prereqs, so we'll just find you classes to be in. And I was like, that's not how that works. So
No.
yeah,
Here, we're going to just put you somewhere, but we're still going to take your money.
exactly.
While that happens.
And I was like, no, okay. So I went to school and I did like 12 credits and I weaseled my way into one of like the preliminary criminology courses. And but I was working like 2 jobs at the time. Well, really 2.5 jobs at the time. And so I was like working like 45 to 60 hours a week and going to college. So I dropped out of that nonsense. Tried it again next time. Hated criminology. And then pandemic hits and all that shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something that I actually enjoy. So that's when I started doing film. Loved my film courses. No more funding. So, yeah.
Because the first thing that gets cut?
The money. Every single fucking time.
And
The
the
free
arts.
money. The money that is, the money that's not coming from the actual person's wallet. And then you're completely right. The arts in schools. Which, like, and I wish I knew enough about the New Mexico, like from like high school and below education system. But one of the top headlines I'm hearing all the time is just how art is getting cut left and fucking right
Yeah,
from
well, 'cause
public school
it's-
systems.
People just don't value it. I
Yeah.
mean, and that carries through, like not even just in schools. And there's so much that comes from art.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all of us weirdos. Like, who sat there and listened to Edgar Allan Poe and was like, ooh, yeah. Like,
I don't know why I attached to it so much, but Telltale Heart
Yes.
and The Raven. I don't know why that,
and The
like,
Raven
I was
by the
so into
Sea.
that. Like, I just like, yeah, that's cool writing. And then eventually in college, I got into like Lovecraft and stuff like that. And I was just a big horror dork, as you could probably tell. But, but so, okay, so you're in college, and did the red light camera start then, or was it after college?
So red light started, towards my like senior year in college. I was like on my way out in college, and that was when thank God I had red light because I was like, forget you, I'm gonna go be a rock star. I'm not gonna do UNM anymore.
And then you went to band practice. Like, okay, so I told these guys to fuck off, and that we're rock stars. So we really got to get on it. We really have to commit to this, guys.
Like I told my mom I was leaning all in, so if we could really do this, it'd be nice. No, but I was actually in a musical at the time. I was in Rent, and I
shit.
was Mimi in Rent.
Okay.
And Barney and I knew each other through theater. We went to school together. Barney and I have known each other for years. We were actually go way back, and we did like this Trick Lock Theater used to have a teen theater summer camp that we did, and I love Barney so much, but he reached out to me.
And he plays
Bass.
Bass. Okay.
He's bass. Yeah, Barney and I are the only two original members of Red Light Cameras. So
Okay.
he reached out to me and said, we have this band, and I'd love for you to come sing with us. And at the time, they were actually called Eva Lived, which is
Called what now?
exactly
Eva
Lived, which
Okay.
is Devil Love backwards.
Ah. Okay.
Yes. So Barney and Chris started it, and it was a project that they had done.
It's a little dorky, but it's kind of clever.
It's
Yeah.
clever. It's clever. It's worky. They started it when they were in high school together,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, we want a female singer, so they brought me in.
Nice.
I started singing with them a little bit.
Feel free to continue. I'm just gonna check the cameras and all that stuff.
Yeah. They brought me in, and I started singing with them, and actually we started with a few covers, and then we started writing more music together, and it just kind of fell into place that I loved it. And I was still in my old man band at the time, so I was doing musical theater through school and other theater shows as well, and playing in it was called Little Sister at one point. It was called Phone Booth Love at another. It was called Wrestling with Jimmy. Had a whole bunch of phases with that old man band, but they are playing with them. And then I was like, I need to play with people my own age.
We're looking for longevity here, folks.
And I want to write. I want to write more music, and I loved those men. Like I learned how to be a musician.
Because were
with those
they
men.
were they any kind of trained?
Oh
Were they,
yeah, so they all had different backgrounds, but they were musicians from when they were teens,
nice,
and
nice.
and were aspiring to be the Who and the Allman Brothers and stuff. So I covered a lot of Allman Brothers actually.
That's
and
awesome.
Early Fleetwood Mac before Stevie, when they were just four dudes.
Oh wow.
Covered early Fleetwood Mac.
That's a hell of a way to get an education in music. For
Yes,
men
sir.
who know that type of music or been doing it for a long time. That's awesome.
A lot of B-sides. I learned what to do as a fellow musician, like at a show, and what not to do, how to behave at gigs and how not
Example
to
being?
behave at gigs.
Ooh,
Basically,
that's a fun one, especially with
Ooh.
Albuquerque the way it is. That's a fun one. So what comes to mind when you think about those early lessons?
well, I think that there's a sense of we're a team, right? And we're all putting on this show together. Every band who's there on you have a band with a bill with 4 bands. Everybody should be there to give a good show and to help each other give a good show, right? So you're not making it difficult for each other. You're staying and supporting each other if you can. Life happens, absolutely. But sometimes you're the only audience. So showing up for each other in that way, helping get off stage to turn over for a new band. Even though I've worked with a lot of musicians in town that I help when we're on stage. Like I will help you lift things. I will ask you like, hey, do you need me to help you take this? I've got hands. I'm not doing anything. What can I do for you?
That's awesome.
Because what's my instrument? Lift me off stage. Like what is it? I'm not doing anything. So, and I learned that from them, being like, hey, can you help? And that they would always also, not necessarily in that kind way. It was more of like, we've worked with this people. Singers always do this where they never pick anything up and they never help. And I was like, so yeah, you little things of, how to make it good for everyone involved. You may not get along. You may not like each other. You may not be your bands may not be each other's cup of tea or whatever. Right, but we're all there.
Or the audience need to know that.
Yeah, exactly.
The audience does not need to be privy
but
to your
if you're
drama.
shitty to each other,
and
right? And if you're shitty to each other off stage, then that feeds into it.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You see people play angry. You see people lose themselves. Like you see people like a bad night can throw you off. Yeah. So any show I play, I'm always like, hey, I'm happy to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Like I really enjoy that you're here. And
that's why you're on top. Let's be honest. Because look, and this is, I love doing this podcast so fucking much. Easily the best part of my week.
hey, it's a great podcast. You've built quite a good little following.
Oh,
I was waiting for my turn.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I was waiting. I was. Well, I was like, it's only kings. I'm not a king. Oh no.
That was probably one of my favorite messages I've ever gotten, if not my favorite. It's like, well, yeah, duh, yes, you are welcome. Yes, see, it's funny. You say you were waiting. I was working up. I was trying to work my way up, and everyone that I've told that to, like, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, do some more work. Okay, sounds good. But no, it's just interesting because I genuinely do. I feel very blessed to do this and talk to a lot of awesome people. I mean, I've made a hell of a friendship out of the guys from the slums of Harvard. Like, I love doing what I've been doing, but like an unknown positive of it that I never saw coming was I become privy to a lot of nonsense that's going on, but I'm on the outskirts. Mm-hmm. I'm just the guy with like the microphone. I just talk to cool people. I have fun, have a couple drinks, have a little hang. We're cool. Yeah. In and out in 2 to 3 hours. We're having a good time. I don't need to know your nonsense. I don't care. But if you want to tell me, you can go right ahead.
Balls in your court.
Yeah, balls in your court for what you want to say. And I like do a little poking, a little prodding, stuff like that. But I find it very fun, honestly. I don't like when people bicker, but I do like watching a good show. Yes. And hearing a little bit of nonsense. Well, then it also it also opens me up to opportunity to hear another side of the story, which is a lot of the reason why I started this. Like I don't know why I love it. And like, especially today, saying that I love it, it just feels weird. I love watching presidential debates, but the thing but the thing I hate about it the most is they're like, fix climate change in 30 seconds. And I'm like, no, that's not a 30-second issue.
No.
So when I was talking to my buddies about this, I was like, well, I'm not tackling those kind of issues, but like I like talking to people and I hate censorship. So I want to give people their time to go. And so the reason I bring all this up is your mentality of no matter how I'm feeling that day, no matter what's happened that day, no matter how I feel about people, not even people on the bill, but just people in the room. Guess what? I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for being here. Let's have a good night. That is what puts you on top, like 100%. And that's what puts like you and a lot of other bands, like that separates. And I feel like that's in any industry. I feel like that's in any community because nobody wants to hang out with the douchebags. No, let's be honest. If you're known,
let's be honest, don't be a dick.
Yeah. If you're known as, and again, this is in any state, in any type of community, this is in friend groups. Like,
oh yeah,
any friend group that's big enough has the one guy and the person grows up eventually, but the one guy, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed, hopefully. We're like, hey, look, where you gotta like preference the new group of people. You're like, this guy might look like a dick, he might act like it, but he's so nice. Hang out for like an hour.
But watch, after he yells at you, he's gonna cry, and then it's gonna make it so much better.
But yeah, like just because nobody wants to hang out with those people. Nobody wants and more importantly, it's the business side of it too. And I want to get into that a little bit later about your experience in the business side of music. Because I don't think I ever really understood or got an idea of how, not troubling, but how much work that could be until I heard comedians talking about it, like local comedians. Hearing them talk about it, like, yeah, I love getting on stage and I love writing all this stuff, but the business side of comedy fucking sucks, and here's why. And a lot of the reasons that they had are a lot of the reasons the musicians have. And I'm like, damn, well, that makes sense. I would hate that too. So anyway, you start.
And actors have that same opinion, but they'll never tell you.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
They'll act like they don't.
That's their job, right?
Okay.
That's all right, anyway. So you get contacted and you're joining the red light cameras. What was the first 90 days? What was that like? Getting with the band, practicing, a little bit of writing. Was there any performing in the first couple of months?
Yeah. So we actually.
How long ago were they? How far along were they?
They weren't super far along. They had played like a couple shows here and there. I think they had been together for like maybe a year.
Okay.
Something.
Infancy.
Yeah. It also, I mean, we have to also remember, like, when I was in that scene, was very different from the scene that is now.
Because you said this is 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
So simple math, 2011.
And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That I'm shocked I did that. Like, wow.
You did great.
You sound like my teachers. Oh, look at him. Look at him go. He's coloring in the lines.
I'm just impressed. I'm the only Asian who can't do math. I'm like, just so bad. You're looking at me like, 7 plus 3 is, I'm pretty sure 10.
Okay, so 2011.
So 2011,
okay.
the scene was very, very different. You know,
In what way?
In the sense that it wasn't as inviting. It wasn't as expansive as it is now. Like right now, our scene here in Albuquerque, like there's so much sound, new sound, different sound that is being like embraced, and people are bringing, you know, different genres, where a lot of the shows back when we started were you either played punk or metal or rap or reggae. You know, there were very few, and even not so much reggae. There was like a few big reggae bands like around those days, and really not a lot of females. You know, I mean, there were, but and they worked really, really hard. You know, and I actually remembered coming into the scene, it was very different. You know, they weren't as inviting to me because I was another woman in their scene.
You're the new kid on the block, and with that added element of gender, it's like there's already so few of us. You're trying to steal my spotlight. It's the famine mentality, right?
Totally.
There's only so much of this for us to eat. It's ours, not yours.
And even playing with like bigger bands, there's like this air, this sense of there's this like sense of, you know, it's mine, not yours. And like, and not that we can't like be nice to each other, but like you have to prove yourself, you know, which sucks as a woman. I was like, why are we women being harder to each other? Like, why aren't you like stoked that we're in the scene together? You know, like, why are we making it harder? And it was so when we're talking about like the community as it is now, and I was saying, you know, I want to be a good part of that. I was like, I'm never going to do that. Like every new person that comes in, I'm like, yes, I'm going to sing your praises. Like, heck yeah. I know all of you coming up, and I'm like, I see you. You're doing great. Like Almost Always Never just had their release. I was like, awesome. Congratulations on your release day.
Very nice people.
Willa J is going on an amazing tour.
Another nice
She's
girl.
doing amazing
She's
right
awesome.
now. I mean, Josie McFarland is like joined the Mango Cakes, and I was so thrilled when she stepped in and did that. Like, there's a lot of, I mean, Tina, amazing. There's like a lot of new, fresh women on the scene.
I can hear everyone you just named. I can hear them listening. It's going, oh my God, you said my name.
Like, I'm a rattle of chocolate. And I mean, like, Clark, are you familiar? Do yourself a favor. Clark with a Q. Clarq.
Oh, I think I've seen her stuff on Instagram.
Dude, she's amazing.
I think
Amazing.
I saw Pocket Elephant share some of her stuff.
Yeah,
So-
she's rad. So there weren't us
Yeah.
in that scene.
Was it?
And
Finish it.
it was a lot of men.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of like, it was hard to like get shows because it was all the same friends groups who were like playing together,
Interesting.
you know?
So specifically with how you were, with the lack of a welcome you got from the women, was it insecurity? Was it lack of skill? Was it lack of, so what I've noticed now is like post pandemic, so many venues are available for musicians to play at, right? And I remember like pre-COVID, granted, I didn't go out a whole lot anyway, but even when me and my friends did go out, there wasn't a whole lot of places to see music. And there wasn't, like, there were a couple of venues, like, there was Launchpad and, like, El Rey, obviously, like, Sunshine for bigger shows. But if I want to go see a band play tonight, where can I go? There wasn't, like, a whole lot of places. And if there were, they weren't doing shit for marketing. So we never found out about it. So looking back at that time, was it like, we don't have a whole lot of places to play, so therefore we don't want a new person? Was
Well-
it, I'm scared of a new person, so they're going to take my spot, they're coming for my job? Like, because, well, let's be honest, like, it's all local scenes. You're going to have amazing people, and you're going to have not so amazing people.
Well, I think,
So where did that come from, do you think?
yeah, I think it was, I don't know. I think it was a combination of things. I think it mainly was, it's hard, I think, to sit back and not feel like you're threatened when somebody better than you comes along. I think that it's really hard to sing their praises and to like look at it instead of if I see someone that's better than me, that I want to be better.
That's how I am.
You know, I'm like, it makes me want to be better. And I think that there's a lot of people that don't have that.
That's how I am.
Especially here in Albuquerque. I think there is this big sense of if I don't have it, you're going to have it. And if you have it, then I don't have it.
It's that. And then it's, you can be successful, but you can't be more successful than me.
Yeah. And why not, man? Why don't we just want to like, why wouldn't you want your friend to be awesome? Why wouldn't we want your neighbor to be like the best thing on the block? That way you can say, you know them too. Like, hello? Like, I'm just kidding. But
don't you want to be associated with the shit? Come on now.
but you know, it's hard. I think it was a rough scene to get into in general because it was a very precious scene. You know, I'm not knocking it for what it was back then because it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
It made me who I am today. And because I had to claw my way literally into that scene. And I mean, I was just the girl that didn't go away. Like, yeah, I'll open for you. Sure. On a Thursday? Absolutely. I'll open for you. On a Tuesday? Done. Just so I can play. And just so I can be there. And I will be charming and I will be nice and I will help you move your shit. And I'm not going to get in your way. And guess who they call the next time? Guess who they call again? Because sometimes people aren't going to... There's a lot of talented people in the world. There are. And you're not the most talented person. You know, you can be a big fish in a little pond. You can be like... And it doesn't mean that you're the best. There's always going to be something better, you know? And you never want to be bigger than the better thing because you're not going to see it. And so I carry that with me in that I always want to like move this to make me better, you know? I don't know.
No, that's people need to fucking hear that. 'Cause that's so well because the fact that there are more talented people than you in the world, that's not a bad thing.
No.
And people see that as a bad thing and I haven't spent like obviously like I've traveled, but like I haven't spent an elongated period of time outside of New Mexico. I really haven't. And so I can only speak to what's happening in Albuquerque, how people feel in Albuquerque, and I would hope that in a more because Albuquerque, especially post-COVID, in my opinion, there's been this like renaissance of just entertainment. Certainly music, but just entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Like there's more music than there's ever been. There's certainly been more comedy than there has ever been. There's
a lot of art.
A lot of art going on. I mean, the art walk is fucking phenomenal. I love it. I went to my first art walk, I think 2 summers ago.
Because everybody had to put down their lives.
Yes.
And got to explore themselves.
Yes.
And got to lean in to what they were told is your hobby.
Exactly. And I think priorities shifted.
Yeah, totally.
Because when people say like, oh, and that's what's really bothered. One of the things that bothered me the most post-COVID is, well, I've been very thankful and very blessed enough to be in management positions at any job that I've gone to. And now my job specifically is a recruiter, but beforehand I had a hand in hiring, interviewing, just because of like being short-staffed on management. Everyone's doing a little bit of everything. And one of the things that this narrative is just getting like told over and like, you know, people say a thing so many times, even if they lie to themselves enough and they end up believing it, like they psyop themselves into believing a lie. What I would always hear from people, again, of the like a generation above, 2 generations above me, it was, well, people just, I don't know what's wrong, but people just don't want to fucking work these days. And I'm the guy that's like, okay, well, I have to trust that numbers don't know how to lie. And I have to trust these sources that are pumping out numbers. So I'm going to look at the unemployment. Unemployment keeps dropping. Keeps dropping, and more people are getting employed. Well, it's not that people don't want to work. It's people don't want to work for bullshit pay. People don't want to work bullshit jobs they don't care about. And in COVID, people, I think priorities just got shifted. And they're like, hey, guess what? I love painting. I love singing. I love fucking dancing or playing guitar, or doing comedy,
And
whatever.
I'm going to prioritize time for that.
Exactly. I'm going to prioritize time for that and prioritize. I can't speak today. It's a Monday.
We'll do some warm-ups.
need to prioritize time for the family. Because all of that was taken away. Like for my family, for instance, my grandfather passed away during COVID, and we're just now getting around to like, all right, we're going to do a memorial.
Right.
We're going to like a family get together here in October. Like
Properly.
we're just now getting around to it when it was like, because life just fucking ended for people. So all these priorities get shifted. And so now I would think like going back to talking about starting out music and not being as welcomed as you should have been because of the pool of female performers were so tiny. You want, like, I would think you'd want that to grow.
Yeah.
You want that to, swell and like just blossom into something great.
Yeah.
Just because someone else is succeeding does not mean you're not going to, or that you can't.
Right.
Like someone else's success does not take away from it. Like that's one of my favorite. And I say it almost every fucking episode for people that are listening devoutly. I'm sorry, but it's. No, it's one of my.
It's a good one.
It's my favorite quote from Joe Rogan. It's a feast, not a famine. There is enough for everybody. There is enough venues. There is enough money. There is enough whatever the fuck you want. Maybe it's not enough $10 million mansions, but who really needs that? There is enough. Everything that you need, want, and a little bit more is enough for everybody.
Yeah,
just work for it.
If you work for it. And if you want it.
Yes.
Because the people that walk away from it, they're like, oh, well, I'm just not getting it. I'm like, well, are you?
How hard are you actually working?
Right.
Right.
I'm sorry, you're not getting Launchpad on a Friday. But do you know how long it took me to get Launchpad on a Friday? Like, you work for it. You work for it.
What were like as far as a work, did you go into red light cameras already having a killer work ethic, or is that something that kind of you like got? I feel like a lot of people that get into they get into a creative endeavor, like I'm going to do the thing, and then they start doing the thing for 3 weeks, and they're like, oh, this is a lot of work.
I think being a theater kid.
Yeah, fair enough.
Dude, because we work. Like,
fair enough.
You learn the lines, you build the set out of cardboard and glue and things, and maybe it might kill you, but you do it. And like, it's just, there's this, I chalk up a lot of work ethic to that. And also to my parents and who raised me. I was raised by a very powerful mom and who worked my whole life. And raised kids and did it and made time to not only spend time with us, but also love us. And, and also my dad, who was a hard worker as well. And who just, I come from hard workers that we don't come from privilege. Yeah. Where everything I've gotten in my life is I've got, and I worked for.
Right.
And, the concept of like, I was given a car. It was not a nice car. It was a car I had to take care of.
Same.
It was a car I sat on phone books to see out of, but you know what I'm saying? It was a car. And it got me to school and back.
That's what I keep fucking. Like my car turned a little bit of a beater right now, but hey, it gets me from point A to point B and B back to A.
Exactly.
That's all I care about.
It's not how you got there and what ride you rode in.
The fact you got there.
You got there.
And were you on time? Go back to hard work. Were you there on time?
Exactly. Show up professional, show up on time, show up being ready to work.
Yeah.
So
the first how long into red light cameras do you feel like it took until it was like, okay, we have a rhythm, we have like a solid workflow, we have a schedule of live events, where like, how long did that take?
What was Sunday? Just kidding.
Damn.
Just kidding. No, I think it's always work. I think it's constantly growing. And if this band has taught me anything, it's that there's no stopping point.
Okay, right.
But like you keep climbing. But
you have a level of notoriety. You have a lot of, respect in New Mexico and abroad. And so like you guys can get Launchpad on a Friday night. You guys can pretty much show up to any venue here and be like, hey, I want to play. And they'll say, okay, what date works for you? Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I went to too. But.
So how, I guess, way to rephrase that, the real, like, the growing pains, I guess.
I see what you're saying.
Of red light. What was that period like? Let's get away from time, I guess. What was that period like?
Well, so I think now I kind of understand your first question
Yeah.
a little more. That like really when it felt like it clicked,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it felt like, oh, this is what we're doing. It makes sense in what we're doing. We played South by for the first time, and it was
How many years into that? Into you guys'
two.
Nice.
We were 2 years in.
Holy fuck.
And we were a baby band. Oh, baby band. And we were so excited. And so excited.
Holy shit.
And I remember going, and then I remember coming back and realizing what a big deal that was. You know, like I knew it was a big deal to go to South by Southwest. But
That's no, it's Austin.
Austin.
Austin. That's where I want to move so fucking bad. So bad.
Austin's rad. It's very cool. I would support you if you moved there.
Thank
Yes, and I'll tell you about great taco places.
I have got her approval, folks. Peace.
Like, but you have to come back.
Oh yeah.
They can't all blame me for you leaving. Okay, if everyone blames me for you leaving, then
So 2 years in, you get South by Southwest.
so 2 years. Well, I guess maybe it was more than that. Maybe no. I think it was 2.5. Yeah, 2. And it was just rad. It just it felt. It felt like the biggest fucking thing. You know, you feel like you're on top of the world. And
Well, that is one of the biggest fucking
And-
things.
but
Let's
we
be
played-
real.
I mean, but you want to know, but this is talking about the business side of it, right?
Yeah.
Of like, there's all this glamour of like, oh my gosh, you went to South by Southwest. Yes. We played at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Fair enough. Who cares?
On their Wednesday, exactly. I mean, who cares?
You're there?
Who cares? You're at South by, right? It doesn't matter the car you got there in. It matters that you got
Yeah.
there. We played 2 shows. That one was that was during the day, was great. We had so many people who, because South by is just rotating people.
Yeah.
Coming through to see you, which is great. It's great exposure. But we played this show that was at a club that I don't even remember how we got it, but we shouldn't have been there. Like it really was like they were like trying to they were very much a bar trying to be part of South by.
Okay.
And we were booking it ourselves, right? And a lot of people don't realize that like a lot of these bands that you're trying to work against and working with have people booking for them, have managers and booking agents that they are paying to get them these like shows and stuff. So doing this on our own, I mean, shout out to Barney Lopez, because my bassist. He is the hardest working man in Albuquerque for this music scene. Oh my God. But he did a lot of our booking and got us these shows, but bless his heart, this is not on him. But this guy got us in his bar. And we played, and no one was listening to us. Nobody cared that we were there. We were the only band. It was like DJs. It was weird. And we were like, okay, so can we get paid? And he laughed in our face. And he was like, no. You pay me to play South by. And we were like, what? What do you mean? And he was like, I mean, I'll give you a drink, I guess. And like went and got us like a round of drinks. And we, you know, we made no money. We did nothing, but we went to South by. You know, and it was and so coming off of that, right, of feeling like kind of like wah,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh my gosh, we had this dream to like go and thought it was going to be this amazing thing. And then everybody treated us like shit. And then we were like sad. And then, but we got home and everyone was so stoked,
Yeah.
you know, because they were rooting for us. Because we were part of that. And that was when it clicked for me that I was like, oh, this is something special. And this is something more that people are loving it. People are loving it. Like, I just thought it was me, like, wanting to write a little bit of my poetry and put it out there and just maybe hopefully someone likes it and will sit and listen to it, you know. But no, people were excited and stoked. And it made me want to make it better. And so then when we went back the next year, you know, we were smarter. We worked
Well, you
harder.
went back to South by Southwest the next year. Okay. I hope everyone else caught that at home. Yeah, we went, but we did this and did it. Okay, but the next year that we went, Jesus Christ, that's so awesome. So, kind of off subject, but this is a bit of a topical thing because of what's going on, like in Hollywood with the writer strikes and all that kind of stuff. The idea that, especially with I feel this is an issue with local bands. Paid with exposure, right?
Listen, can we talk about this?
Because
this makes me so...
yeah,
Go ahead.
because
go ahead.
here's my thought on it. Here's my thought. If you are a venue that has the capability to put on a band, not even a band, just a musical act. So we are covering all bases here. If you're putting on a musical act or a comedy act, and these people are taking time out of that immediate day to go up and do whatever it is they've agreed to do, that implies that they have had to put in work outside of that to prepare that act, refine that act, rehearse that act, everything that goes into preparation. And then they perform. You should pay them.
Yeah.
You should pay them for what they're doing. I don't care if it's the little rinky-dink bar in Hobbs, New Mexico, and, they're just a little country band, local whatever. Pay them. Or if they're going all the way up to Sunshine or Isleta. Right? But I know that this is more localized to like a more like local scene, local venues, breweries, stuff like that. I never understood, because I feel like that's obviously it has to be a spoken agreement, but that's kind of, if I were, because I've started to like dabble my way into stand up a little bit. If I were to get approached by Dry Heat, or like I've done 377 2 times now, if I were to get approached by any of these venues that are actively supporting comedy, and you're telling me, hey, I want to have you on a bill, how does that sound? I'm not that guy who's gonna say, well, am I gonna get paid? I'm gonna assume. I'm gonna assume, because what, you guys are making money for sure off your fucking liquor sales.
Right.
And especially if I see my name on a flyer and it says $5 entry, $10 entry, I'm not saying you should pay me $100 fucking bucks, but hey,
But pay me $100.
toss me a little. You know what I mean? Toss me a little bit.
But why not pay you $100? I mean, so okay.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Oh, I see exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying, because I'm so happy you brought this
I saw
up.
the engine just get revved.
Oh.
So
Ocean Man. It's this is my it's one of my pet peeves as a performer. I not only am a musician, but I also am a burlesque performer. I'm a theater performer. I'm an actress as well. Like it goes
right.
across the board.
None of that is surprising. None of that is surprising. But continue.
But it goes across the board. This idea of, well, we'll pay you with exposure, and you're welcome. We'll pay you by. That might have flown 15 years ago. 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
What's changed?
The internet. We
Boom.
know.
I didn't want to say it, but thank you
is.
for confirming what
It
I'm
is.
thinking.
Yes. We no longer live in a need for your exposure. I get
can do
up in the morning and I have exposure. Your exposure to me is a slap in the face. When people tell me that, I'm like, I'm not going to work with you. Because if you think that my time is worth exposure, you don't value what I do. Like you said, it's so much more. They think it's just that hour, 3 hours that you're playing. No, it is the hours that you put into practicing, to learning, to working, to honing your craft. And why not value that? Why not value yourself? What makes me also upset is not only the venues and the people that are in these positions to pay people, because that's the most frustrating thing too, is when I see all of the money walking through the door and you don't walk away with any of it, right? You're not valuing what I'm bringing to your business. And if your business is good enough that you don't need me, then I won't be here, right? You don't need me. But along with all of that, what's disappointing is that other people don't value themselves. If you're willing to get up and you're willing to play for that little, then they're going to pay you that little. And you're not going to have a bargaining chip to get more. Value yourself. Value your time and what you do.
Play devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah.
Where does skill meet value?
So I think that it's also a matter of work. I think that it is yes, where skill meets value, right? We got to a point that we recognized the draw that we had. And there was a certain conversation that we had with bookers in town, and we were like, listen, particularly me, I was like, I know how much you pay this band full of boys. So
hello,
I would like to get paid.
Good for you.
And and it's scary. It's scary advocating for yourself because, you know, what's the worst that can happen? They say no and you don't play, right? And that's scary.
Well,
Because then you go ahead.
No. Finish.
Well, I was just going to say that, you know, it's scary to do that because it's hard to trust the unknown, right? But if you value yourself and you value your time and things like, and you say, no, I'm worth this. I'm worth playing at this spot. I'm worth playing at Meow Wolf. I'll play at Meow Wolf and I'll fucking sell it out. Like, manifest that and trust yourself and trust that, like, you know, if you're a baby band, yes, there are dues you need to pay. And this is where skill meets experience, because it's not just, you can't just roll onto the scene and be like, band, pay me $1,000 for playing 3 hours. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to have, because who are you playing to? You have to have the following. You have to have the guts. You have to have the work ethic to also be there and show up and do it and like play a good show. You know, there's a lot that goes into reaching that level, I think.
Because what I was going to say too is I completely agree with you, first of all. But I would imagine just being frank, a place like Albuquerque, a reason why a lot of people don't want to advocate for themselves is, I mean, you've been here long enough. Everyone talks about everybody and everything. And the more details they can get on you, the better. And what would worry me as a performer, like a high-level musician performer, or even someone like coming up, trying to make the name for themselves, what would worry me is if you go to venue A, and you just played, and let's say whether it was agreed upon, whether it wasn't agreed upon, I thought I was going to make $500 for the band. Not just me as a performer, just the band makes $500. But we only got paid $250. And like you just said, maybe it's a Saturday night and you're seeing all that money and you're seeing, let's be frank, let's say you're a little sober and you're seeing the rest of the crowd and they're like, what? And they're losing their fucking mind. We got Billy going back 5 times for his 8th whiskey. We know how he got 8 out of 5, but he got it,
and
right?
he tips well.
And he tips. That's how he got it. And you know, you're seeing the money just circulate through the room. And let's say you're one of 2 bands that are playing, and you only get $250 for the whole group. And then you go to the promoter or whoever you're coordinating with, and you say, "Hey, like you just said, I know the draw I have. We just packed this place out. Next time, pay me more." Or like professionally, obviously, but I'd like to get paid more, or we might have to sever this relationship or put it on hold. And then they say, kick rocks. So they aren't only telling you to kick rocks. They go to venue B, C, D, E, F, and G, and they're like, hey, then they spin that story. And they're like, hey, this band's a bunch of fucking assholes, and they try gouging us for $1,000 off of a 1-hour show. Don't work with them again. Because and that's totally hypothetical. That is not.
You're not wrong.
And that's not a story that I've heard. But I imagine.
But it could happen.
I imagine that happening here in Albuquerque because how tight knit this community is. And one of the things that, and I hate saying it because every musician I've brought this up to, both on and off the podcast, have agreed with me. It's hard to build a great reputation here, but it is so easy to tank it. And that's like, there's some positives to that, but there's a lot more negatives. And that would scare me as someone trying to advocate for myself and be like, hey, we kind of blew the roof off this fucking place. Why am I only getting a couple $100? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's where, I mean, I'm not saying that like that every show I play is like a big money show. That's not what I'm saying.
There's a lot of people that disagree with you.
I'm like, if that was the case, I would be wearing a lot better clothes. I would be in way better digs. I would not have rolled up in my Honda Fit, sir.
Hey, does your car have AC?
It does.
You're doing all right. Mine does not. All summer, no AC. I'm a wetback in real time. Getting home from work, oh my God. I'll get home, peel my shirt off, and just squeegee that shit over a sink.
Happy July.
But anyway, you're saying.
But so, okay. So I think that in that scenario, it takes a lot. Like, yes, this is a small town.
Yeah.
This is a small town. People do talk, absolutely. But, you know, people aren't talking for nothing. maybe watch yourself. Behave correct. Come correct. Come right. You know, like I've been in this scene for 12 years and I treat everybody with respect and kindness and fucking show up professional. And that is one thing people can say about me in this town throughout is that I'm a joy to fucking work with.
I am a motherfucking hoot, thank you.
But you
Yeah,
know,
no, for
like,
real. Yeah.
but it comes with that. And that
Yeah.
and that comes from also being humble in the same sense of like of we did like we didn't get where we were overnight, you know.
Yeah.
But it was hard conversations. It was like, hey, how did that look to you? Because it looked really good to me. Do you think it looks like more? Do you think it looks like $500?
Love that.
And I think that also on what you were talking about of that disappointment, right? Like you walk into a gig being like, okay, it's a $500 gig. Make sure, like just business advice, make sure that you're walking into a gig knowing everything because people are going to try to gouge you and people are going to try and take if they can. And there are people, unfortunately, who have been in this business, who've gotten away with that shit and will continue to do it to people.
That's a fact.
You know, and so you advocate for yourself not only by saying like I am worth this much, but okay, it's a $500 night. How many people are on the bill? What are you planning on paying out these people? How does that payout look? Do I get paid out that night? Do I get paid out from the bar? Do I get a cut of the bar? Do I get a cut of the door? What does all of that look like? Because every venue breaks it down different, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing too, is that you have to, if we're playing somewhere that's like La Chancla, you know, I'm not going to be like, $700, you know? Like, because that's not what that show is. That show isn't about the money. That's not a money show.
Yeah.
That's a show for us.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the advocating for yourself and as an artist finds that balance. Because if you go into every show
Expecting,
and
that's very
demanding
true.
and
This is very
demanding
true.
that you get paid this much or whatever, then people are going to think you're a jerk.
And people are not going to want to work with
no
you.
one's going to want to work
Who's
with
going
you.
to book the guy that,
Well, and if you show up with no chops, you roll in expecting to be treated like you are royalty.
like God's gift to earth.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I love that you, and I'm very touched, you know, that you say like you are the queen and you are these things. And like, and I love the influence that I have had in my fellow members in this community and how I have contributed to this community. But I never expect that. You know, like I walk into every gig just being like, cool, we're all playing together. Like, and I'm playing and I'm just, you know, enjoying and having fun. And so I think when you start losing the fun of it and you start forgetting why you're there and you start putting so much value on, you put your value and worth on the money of it as opposed to what it gives you here, right? I play benefit shows for kids. A CLN Kids show we do every year, and that's one of my favorite shows to be a part of. I try and get as many bands that I know to be a part of it and we play for free. And we don't make, and all the money for the tickets that people come to see us goes towards that organization.
That's kick ass.
And in that other end too, like you play another venue and you make $300 for an hour. And thanks. I just got paid to practice. Because that's that's the secret.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thankful. I think, dude, for me, I'm thankful every time I get to hit that stage. Because what COVID taught me, right, coming out of it, is that none of this is guaranteed. None of it's promised. You know, I could have something crazy happen and never be able to sing again. I could do something that, you know, changes my life completely and I don't get to go on stage anymore. So I'm never going to take it for granted. To me, when we're singing together and when I feel the audience breathe, like that's my payment. And I know it sounds cheesy as fuck and I know it sounds like all like whatever. But
No, it's passion.
it is.
Yeah, it's passion.
It is. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. I also value my time and what I do, because it isn't just my time. It's also like, I mean, think about the people it takes from. Like, this doesn't just take from me. It takes from my partner. It takes from my family. There's things that I've missed. You know, like I missed my nephew's birthday for 6 years in a row because I went to South by, which it's great.
For those of you at home, those are 6 South by Southwest appearances. She's a very good businesswoman. Take notes. We were at 2, and now we're at 6.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's, and that's why I'm like, no, you should pay us for that. Because also, like, that's how Red Light has survived. We don't take any money from the band. Like, I don't get paid out as a musician. I don't think people know this, but I don't take any money from Red Light Cameras. We get paid when we're on tour. We pay out a stipend because we're working, right? So you get like a stipend for your work day. But every show, we put all of that money back into the band. And it has paid for our tours. It pays for our merch. It pays for everything so that I can still live and I can still like be comfortable and be okay. And it's not completely like sucking everything from me, you know? Yeah. But so, you know, advocating for yourself, I'm advocating because I believe in this.
Yeah, no, when the Slums, when they told me off camera how much money they got to drop per song in a studio, I just about had a heart attack.
Oh yeah.
It's like all right, y'all love it, keep at it, because they are talented as well.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, holy shit, and they told me the exact same thing. Like, yeah, we don't take a cut, we just pump it right back into the band, and that's why you, amongst others, stay at the level you're at. It's that level of professionalism, business minded. Okay, so you guys get out of your first 3 years of Red Light Cameras. You've hit your groove. You're starting to click. What was advancing in the Albuquerque music scene looking like? Let's say between, I know I said we move away from time, but let's say like 2015 to 2019. What did that look like?
So, can I remember those years? Like a lot of late nights. I mean, for us, we grew, in that second year. Big thing that changed for us is we got our drummer, Joey, who was with us for 8 amazing years and 10 years. No, I'm bad at math. I told you. Anyway, doesn't matter. Joey was with us for a long time, and he was a big change for us that kind of like drove us, because he was a professional musician. Like, he elevated us. He was in a band called the Dirty Novels, who had like a spot on MTV. They had like they toured across the country for a long time. They were amazing. And big for Albuquerque. You know, I think that, and they were right around the times like that the Shins and everything happened too.
Okay.
So, in like Albuquerque music history lesson, you see these kind of like waves of big changes, right? So in that time, that like 19 back to 15, I think it grew in a big way that a lot of us who were like, it changed in a big way. Like, the indie scene got really big. It started to kind of change into more of like dance. Like, people really wanted to dance. I don't know what was happening in 2016, but everybody wanted to dance.
You motherfuckers got way too happy. All right. You better tone it down. We got a big thing coming. You don't know it yet.
You don't know.
We got a big thing coming in 2020. Better tone that shit down.
It was this, yeah. And then the dance died. But yeah, that I feel like I'm trying to remember like things that stood out to me in that time of like where other bands were changing, right? And I think even bands that were still established then, like, they changed their sound and had more of kind of like a dancey groove take to
more
it.
Like poppy.
I think honestly we just kind of accepted pop. I think as a people in general. I think we embraced Britney and then realized she wasn't okay. And then we just agreed that it was something that was good with the pop.
God. But you know what's sad? Like, because I watched, was it her? No, it was Paris Hilton. Because Paris Hilton had her documentary on
Oh, gosh.
on YouTube, I think. And I watched that. And I know she had a very same like conservatorship issue as Britney Spears. Learning about what that actually looks like knowing that you're your own person, you can advocate like mentally, you can advocate and fight and like talk for yourself. But the law says no because there's a piece of paper. I remember watching. I was watching that with my ex, and I was just sitting there, and slowly but surely, I was on the couch sitting like this, and it just turned into one of these. I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, how can that be possible? Like, imagine getting that much money and that much success out of all the hard because they like talk about like mental breaks, like Paris Hilton in the limelight. I'm sure she got fucked with heavy because of how her family was, and that documentary highlighted that, very sadly. But the two pop stars I always think about are Michael Jackson and Britney Spears. Because they were just treated like workhorses. They weren't even performers anymore. They were like this, like a conduit, like an electric conduit for money. Bananas to me.
I mean, it's been happening for years.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. Look at Judy Garland. Judy Garland, they gave her uppers to come up and things to come down.
I just know she was big. She was, may or may not by her own choice, big into drugs. I don't know her full story.
Well,
I just know it was very tragic.
Yeah, well, so I mean, Hollywood has been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like music falls under that, I think, a little bit as well, because we are kind of this image, right? And like you are expected, going back to, venues not valuing you, you're expected to show up as what they think you are.
Right.
Whether you're having a good day or a bad day or what, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people do turn to other vices for that. And especially in old Hollywood, where it was like, just pop a Valium, sweetie, you're gonna be fine. Like it. It was so normalized that everyone did it, so nobody knew to step in and be like, oh, this isn't okay. So, but hers, yeah, it was like, and a lot of things were, a lot of these actresses started because of weight things too. Like, oh, being a woman in this industry is just wonderful. There's so many other factors that go into it. But what you're talking about of this, like, of you being a person, and what makes me so sad is that, like, you think about, like, back in the day, in, like, Roman times, right? When, like, actors and things were, like, revered and blah, 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 and there's supposed to be this idea that, like, you're this, like, other level of cool. But there are people that want to control that. There's always going to be somebody that wants to catch the butterfly. There's going to be people who are content to watch it and let it exist and let it be in nature as it should be. And then there's always going to be that person that wants to catch the butterfly and keep it.
Well, that was
for
Elvis's
themselves.
manager. What's his fucking name? I always think, I look at, because of the movie that came out with Austin Butler and Tom Hanks, I always think about, for some reason, I think about the Colonel. Is his name the Colonel?
I don't know.
Right, I think his name is the Colonel.
But he did that to Elvis.
Yeah, he absolutely destroyed. Not that Elvis was a perfect person, but he absolutely destroyed.
Priscilla's going to come out and show us all that.
Okay, so I had that in mind. Yes, because, and you know what? Shout out to fucking A24, because I don't know.
Oh yeah, they're doing great.
Like,
work.
I don't know why it's not getting reported on as much, but A24 conceded to the writer strikes and the actor strikes. Did you see that?
Really?
They conceded. They were like, "Oh, you want more pay? Okay, sounds good. Here you go." And now, through the unions, they are the only working studio right now. Is that surprising? No. But yeah, so they're coming out with Priscilla, and it's Copeland, right? The legacy child from the Copeland family, and I forget her first name.
I'm terrible with that.
And the main guy from Euphoria, who plays the jock character, I forget his name. But that first trailer,
Someone's Googling it right now and screaming at us.
yes, it's the fucking you don't know Euphoria. Yeah, but anyway, no, that movie looks fucking phenomenal, and I cannot wait. Like I watched just A24. I watched Genius is the way they made it. X and then Pearl. Have you seen those with Mia Goth, the horror films?
Oh my gosh, I want to see Pearl so bad.
Have you
That
seen
has been
X?
on my list. No.
You need to watch X first.
X first? Okay.
Yes, because Pearl is the prequel to X.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically what happened is the main guy, I think his name is Ty West, something like that. The director, he wrote and directed both films. And they made X, and they're like, well, I have a great idea for a prequel to this, and we're already here. You got some money, Mia Goth? And they got some of that Shia LaBeouf Transformers money in there. And she produced, or helped produce, Pearl. And they shot them back to back. So I think X came out, and then maybe 8 or 9 months later, Pearl came out.
Oh.
And then they're doing the third one, which is going to be set in. It's still a prequel to X, but it's like so if like Pearl is here and then the next one's here, X is here. So they're making like 2 prequels that lead up to, and it's called Maxine, and it's the main character going to Hollywood. And it's gonna be fucking. I don't want to spoil nothing.
Okay.
But it's so fucking good.
I'm gonna have to have a movie marathon, watch the X and watch X,
And then Pearl. So fucking.
and then we
good.
can talk about it before Maxine comes out.
Yes, that means she's coming back. Anyway, so no, phenomenal films. And that studio, like when I found out that they conceded to the writer strikes and the actor strikes, and like, hey, we'll pay you what you guys, or just like we go back to what you know your worth.
Know your worth.
Right. And they're going to get paid that studio. That's fucking awesome.
Right. I mean, and it's we're doing a service.
Yeah.
We're doing a service.
Yeah. Performers are not dancing monkeys.
No. Like, whether you want to admit it or not, I mean, we work at what we do. And I think that especially the people that you can tell, like, this is our life.
Yeah.
Like, value that.
Well, I was having a conversation. I went out, this is more than a few weeks ago. I went out with some friends and we're having a couple of drinks. We were talking about this, and not that they were like advocating part of the studios, but one of my friends was like, well, why is the strike happening? And we were talking about like residuals and that kind of stuff. And because I didn't know this fact until like 4 or 5 months ago, that like 90% of the Writers Guild have multiple jobs on top of writing. And then like something like 80 something, close to 90 of the Actors Guild have multiple jobs on top of acting. But then I when I was reading those statistics, I sat down and I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, I think about a production like the recent Batman that came out with Pattinson. That movie had a budget of like 250, 300 mil. It brought in close to 900. Pattinson made, I think, 9 million, 10 million, which is still a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
That's a ton of money. Good for him. He's had a long career. He's no longer the Twilight boy. Good for him, right? Oh, another A24 film, The Lighthouse. Have you seen that with him and Willem Dafoe? So good.
Did I see The Lighthouse?
It's in black and white.
No.
Yeah, it's in black and white. It's him and Willem Dafoe, and again, I don't want to spoil it, but it's them losing their mind in a lighthouse for an hour and a half.
Oh,
and it is
shit.
one of the best.
Very like No Exit vibes.
Yeah, very
Okay.
like Lovecraftian, like esoteric, like Fear of the Unknown shit. It's very good.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
Anyway, so I thought I was like, yeah, like I don't want to be the guy that advocates on like the part of millionaires because they have their life together. Like if you're a millionaire, you've got it, whatever.
Right.
But if you look at the grand scale of things, what is 9 or 10 million against 900 million? Like he's the lead guy in that movie. That movie succeeds and fails on his shoulders. Maybe 15 million is not that much more to pay the guy.
Right.
Maybe 20 million is not that much more to pay the guy. And then how much is the studio collecting back? And I understand that there's like dozens and dozens of people, especially with like superhero movies, how much like people have to work on that. But it's like with the level of responsibility, I think is not what a lot of people are understanding. And then it goes to like the bigger people that are financing these movies. And I think thankfully, like I don't ever want movie theaters to fail. obviously I love going to the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create movies one day, but I think the corporate greed is starting to make its way into like the public zeitgeist, and people are starting to understand that like I don't know how much I'm actually supporting the creatives by going to the theater.
Right.
And now like that mixed with the economy, mixed with like these movies aren't that great anymore. It's all this cookie cutter bullshit, and that's coming from a guy who loves superheroes.
Well, because it's the same.
It's the same fucking thing.
Well, and it's the same 5 people
Yeah.
that are saying, no, we don't like that. Like, get just some new people in the mix. And I think that's more, I think the strike is more than money, personally.
It's
a
lot of principles involved.
Yeah,
it's
it's a lot of principles and a lot of the sense of like, just because something's been done that way doesn't mean that we should keep doing it that way. Like,
Right.
let's fucking change it, you know? And I think that it's more than just we're advocating for like being treated fairly. I mean, think about Rust. You know, that movie was a hot freaking mess.
Oh, that was the Alec Baldwin debacle.
Well, then
right.
you hear about all of it and how like it really came down to funding, and they're trying to blame it on the fact that like, oh well, we had no funding to hire a good person that could like actually be in charge of that. Like,
that's a load of bullshit.
It's bullshit.
That is the big. I've read that too, and that is the biggest crock of shit. You could get any. You don't have to be a military veteran. You could get any person who has any experience with weapons and ask them, hey, clear the weapons. See what happens. Just clear the weapons. That's all you have to say. It's for anyone who has any experience with weapons, ask them to clear it. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll make sure there's not a fucking live round in there. Like,
but
yeah.
You know, I mean,
that really angered me when I read those articles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of like a, hey, don't put us in these situations either. You know, of like, not even like pay me the money, but like pay the money so that we're safe. Pay the money so that we're working okay. So that
if you really have to pay top dollar for a person to make sure a prop gun doesn't have a live round in it, pay the
that.
extra fucking $50,000
Yes.
or whatever it was. Cause,
Yes.
yeah, that's just that whole situation made no sense to me. It's because it's like, well, okay, let's assume that this guy, that the prop master, really was that stupid. Let's just, because I think it was negligence. I
She was like, wasn't she like 20 something?
I didn't read anything about the prop master. No.
So, weapons master,
Okay.
not prop master.
Oh, okay.
Weapons master. So there was a person just in charge of that.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
Like, she's like the daughter of a dude who's really well known for being a good weapons master. So everyone's like, we thought she'd do a good job.
Oh.
Bottom line, even if you are giving, because everybody has to shoot their shot, right? And everybody needs that step in.
That's a poor choice of words right there.
Ooh, that's a poor shot.
It's been past
so
6 months. Fuck them. Who cares? That's comedy now. Fuck them. I was making fun of Lizzo a week after that shit went down. All right, we're cool. Anyway, continue.
Which that's another one we should talk about. But anyway. There's 2 sides to every story.
Yes.
But this girl, you know, I mean, everybody needs that like break, right? And I think she was sold that this is going to be your break.
Right.
And this is going to lead you to bigger things. This was a big project that she probably shouldn't have been in the head of it on.
I
agree. 100%. And then, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen because of it. And you look at where we're willing to cut ties because of money. You know, another thing. I don't know if that's, someone's on the internet screaming at us that like, no, that's not right.
Well, they went, shut up. Shut up.
Alec Baldwin liked our bathroom. It's fine.
Well, you know what? Wait, what?
Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God. He posted on like Instagram or something. He went into the bathroom in the airport and took a video, and he was like, this is the most beautiful airport bathroom I have ever been. Look at this. Look at this. It's so clean. It's so things. And I mean, and Burke ran with it for a whole freaking week. Everybody shared it. Everybody was about it. They're like, first of all, Alec Baldwin's here and he likes our bathroom.
The famous Baldwin likes our bathrooms. Oh my God. 30 Rock likes our bathrooms. Oh my God. Fucking, yeah. I don't know. Cause again, even if that person didn't know how to do their job, they were negligent, mixture, maybe it's a mixture of the two. Who knows? Either way, because again, the way that I had read that story was Alec Baldwin just took it and started fucking around, and then when it went off is when it hit the cinematographer.
Well, that he was like supposedly practicing, and the shot that they were trying to get, he's supposed to have the gun in like the barrel down.
Oh, and I read that he was just fucking around with it. Interesting. See how
And
things
was
get
told
reported.
and exactly, right?
Interesting.
You never know. And I mean, going back to talking about how, you never know who talks. You never know. It's a small fucking city and all this shit.
Real.
But I mean, who's standing around you and who's going to say first what they think they saw?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you always got to play nice, kids.
Yeah, that's just such a crazy debacle to me. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so about the comment that I made, I tried my best. It was very strange. I'm dipping my toes in performing. Not with music, but with stand-up.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and I love it, personally. I love...
Isn't it so fun?
It's interesting. Well, because I've always liked, much like you said a little bit earlier, I've always been a loud person. Just naturally like a loud person. I was always told as a kid to be quiet in class and stop talking. And even my whisper, like if normal people whisper at like a 2, I whisper at like a 5. And I'm told that today as an adult. I don't... This is a little behind the scenes. My mic is keyed down a little bit more than yours is.
Oh, really?
A little bit. Not enough, but a little bit so that when I pop into Premiere, I have to fix it in post. That's because I'm a loud fucking guy. And I'm done like just trying to, I want to
know
talk
yourself.
like a normal. Yeah.
But why? But look and on that end, why dim your shine?
Oh, well, thank you.
Why dim your shine? Be loud.
So then I try stand up.
Yes.
And I also like talking shit. And I'm the guy in the friend group that tries to be funny and it falls flat half the time. But the other half that I don't offend you, people laugh at it. So I was like, okay. And I didn't really realize, I grew up loving stand up, just adoring it. And I didn't know that there was stand up in Albuquerque. Because I grew up with that like Kenyan mentality. It was like, oh, we don't have a whole lot. We do have a couple of things, but
there's this whole mentality of just because I don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. Exactly. I never saw it, so therefore, why would it be here? And so post COVID, I start doing this. I find out about comedians. Like, oh shit, we have things here. And then the post COVID just boom of entertainment. I'm like, oh, there's like open mics and shit. And there's like, and one of my friends is a comic here. He used to host an open mic this past summer. And he was like, after one of the open mics, he's like, hey, you're doing stand-up next week. I don't care if you've got 20 seconds in you. You're getting up there and you're doing it. And I went up there and I did it. I had a joke that did okay and the rest of my shit bombed. But I was like, that was actually kind of fun. I don't know how to write, but that was kind of fun. And so I did a couple of shows. My last show that I did, it was interesting to me just like, because I have no experience in reading crowds. And I guess I think that comes with time. But a lot of my premise was about the Lizzo debacle and what happened. And for people that are listening that don't know what happened, I guess her and her dance team for her TV show are touring right now. And they were in Amsterdam. And they went to a strip club. And they went to a back room. And a banana got involved. And things got really fucking weird. Did you read about that?
So I did.
Yeah.
And I read, just to...
Yeah.
And I read Lizzo's rebuttal to it.
Ooh.
And so, have you read that?
I have not.
Go read that.
Oh,
Because there's always two sides. So, right after, they made this whole claim. She was like, if you look back...
Because they were like, she put a banana up a stripper's and made a dancer eat it and shit. Like...
Bro, there's champagne rooms and strip clubs...
That do a lot worse.
Like, at least there's nutrition involved.
That was part of my joke. Like, why did Lizzo change her diet now? But yeah. Anyway.
But, like, I mean, and this is the thing, that her response was, these dancers were the same dancers I fired a week ago. Ooh. She let all 3 of them go because of their behavior when they were on tour.
But if that's the case, then why were they hanging out?
But so here's the thing. I mean, as you're performing and everything, like, you're going to go out, right? You're working with each other. You go out with people after work sometimes and have drinks with Billy that you don't necessarily want to go with.
So they went out and got fired afterwards.
They got fired not because of that scenario. that scenario is what they used
Right,
as their
right.
like thing to shame Lizzo.
The firing happened after the incident, though.
Way after the incident, like much after the incident
Okay.
had already happened. Lizzo let them go because they weren't representing her tour correctly.
Okay, and it was propped up on charges, not charges, but like propped up on accusations of extreme fat shaming.
Which
Yeah.
also, I mean,
Yeah,
look, you're picking the wrong
It writes itself.
horse. To do that.
It writes itself.
Like,
Come on
really?
now.
You're telling me that the woman who has literally spent the last 3 years advocating for body positivity is fat shaming you?
It's the whale getting mad at the ship. All right, it's not going to work out well.
No. And also it was like they were just trying to throw and see what stuck. And the thing is that like Lizzo has not like been shy either about like, yeah, I like going to strip clubs. And because there is this coming along with that Cardi B in this movement of like not necessarily their music, but empowerment of women and sex workers.
I don't know. Wet ass pussy is one hell of a fucking empowerment theme.
It's an empowerment thing, but I mean, there's a lot of people like, oh my gosh, she needs to be a thing. She's an
Well, credit to Cardi B. I don't listen to a lot of her music, but credit to her for what I know about her story is she started out in a strip club, she got found in a strip club, and she's owned that persona.
Yes.
Like, she's never lied about
owning it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, because we're owning it, dude.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody's like, oh, you're a stripper, it's terrible. It's like, no, you pay for it. And?
Yeah.
And? Like, and it's leaning into this part of this world that is like said to be taboo, but why? And
it's called the oldest profession for a reason.
Because it is.
It is, yeah.
It literally is.
Yeah.
America was built on the backs of women, let me tell you.
While they laid on them. Just kidding. Anyway, continue.
So I think that like Lizzo with Cardi B in going to the strip clubs and everything, it is more of a statement and less of like I'm going and doing this thing.
Well, right.
It's more of like let's go and support these women that are hustling and that are doing this.
I think they also wanted to fucking party a bit.
Oh,
No,
I
don't. I think the support. I think the support aspect was the PR backup. They didn't expect the banana debacle to come out, and I don't think. And I thought about that too, like as I was writing out my bits, I was like, well, obviously I'm playing this exaggerated version of a story, an exaggerated version of myself for comedy. But I'm wondering like, okay, how much of this, because we're living in a very like coddled age, right? So how much of this was, yes, Lizzo fat shamed and said, fuck you and all these things, or how much of it was Lizzo being, hey, I have a fucking business to run here, and you guys don't have the work ethic to keep up with it. And they took with it. And she's like, hey, I'm fat as fuck, and I'm doing it. So why aren't you being fat as fuck and doing it? Is it work ethic? It might be. And that's where a lot of the firings happened, and a lot of the, hey, you're not representing properly. And they took the obvious and ran with the, well, she fat shamed us.
Well, and I think also, cancel culture is so big.
Yeah.
In our generation right now.
Yeah.
Like it's and people use that for evil.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I think that there's a lot of times that like it has done great things. Like
no, it's definitely gotten
where it's like
dished out where it's deserved.
It has definitely done good things where it should have, but there's this really quick to, especially with like bigger people like this, where it's very easy to be like, oh, well, I'm going to say all the things that I know people are going to be upset at you for. And so they're going to cancel you, and hoping that happens and like carries out. And it does. You watch it happen to people. Like, anyway.
No. That's very true. Like, well, that's the thing. That's, at least to me anyway, that's the interesting thing about cancel culture is, for the most part, I think for as rudimentary as humans can be, we have commonalities with like a bottom line. Like, if you're a fucking weirdo and you love going to strip clubs, or like because
hey, and you're not a weirdo if you do,
or like you do weird things there, or like the Louis C.K. thing, where apparently he was like jerking off on the phone when he spoke to people. Dude, that's weird. That's so weird, and you should like figure that out for sure.
As-
But does that mean you shouldn't be allowed to like get your life back together?
Here's the problem with that is that it doesn't matter whether
Yeah.
you prefer whether you prefer chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla sex. It doesn't matter what you like, what your kink is. Consent is important.
Yes, I agree. No, I agree.
Consent is important.
I agree.
Where that was wrong is that like
Yes.
you can't call someone that doesn't know you're doing that. If you
Right.
like text your girl and you're like, so I'm gonna do this because that's what I like. And
Listen,
then she's like,
tell me
"Sure."
about your day. You had a great day at the office. Funny thing about how I feel about that, it kind of I agree.
know?
No, get reprimanded for sure. Get
Totally.
reprimanded and
When it's
get
due.
and really like
But you can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, well you
Yeah.
drink they really drink a lot of whiskey though. Like,
right. No.
and
no.
use it for your
And
advantage.
I'm just saying like in that case like he did get reprimanded socially,
Mm-hmm.
financially. His managers dropped him. Okay, yeah, there is punishment that needs to get dished out, but to act like that type of cancel culture is the same as like the Chris D'Elia thing, where Chris D'Elia like he had sex with minors, like the fact that guy is still on like podcasts and shit like that and still has a business built around his name.
Did you see his cameo in You?
Yeah. Yes, because his character prefaced what he was doing.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly. His character for people who don't know what the fuck we're geeking out
know.
about right now.
We're
So
losing it.
in the very famous show You on Netflix, he played a character who was like a famous rapper, right? Or is he a producer?
He's a comedian.
He
Or no,
played
he's
a
a, no, oh no. He's a film producer.
Right, he's a film producer,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was hitting on Jenna Ortega's character, right? And Jenna
was like 15.
Jenna Ortega was like 15 or 16, and the character that Penn Badgley plays was protecting Jenna Ortega from Chris D'Elia, and it's fucked up. I remember like watching that season and be like, "Damn, he plays a creep really well." Like what a multifaceted actor. But yeah, now it comes out that he may or may not, because he never got taken to trial for it, but he may or may not have had sex with minors. And so when it comes to assault and rape, I can't equate that to being weird over the phone. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Like, I see exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So
see exactly what you're saying.
I think the punishment needs to fit the
Right.
crime. And so to say that like someone that does weird shit and they need to figure it out, okay, great. You assault another person,
Yes.
people have that common denominator in cancel culture. Like, we need the cancel culture and we need Me Too movement to get rid of Harvey Weinstein. Like, what he was doing was absolutely fucking horrendous and he was really fucked up. So I went down like a rabbit hole on like the court files and that shit. Apparently, that dude's dick didn't work. Did you know that? So he had a form of necrosis going on down there.
What?
And he had to inject like a steroid or some shit to make him get hard.
Whoa.
So it wasn't even sexuality. It was pure power.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, yeah, kill that dude and bury him under the prison. Fuck that guy.
Oh, dude.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like you're saying, I mean, get people help that need to get help. That like maybe like, hey, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? We should have a talk. That's maybe not the best choice.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
like if you're a fucking rapist and you should get canceled, then
Yeah.
yes, you should get canceled.
Yes.
If you're mad at someone because they fired you, that is
Yes.
not a reason to use
I agree.
what you have used as their friend. Because you
Yeah.
also were in a moment where you were all in participating. It's not like you were forced there. It's not like she like held you against your will and was like, watch me do this.
Well, and that's like the
that's
scenario. And I'm just not a talented writer, so I couldn't play out on stage. But I can't imagine a scenario where like Lizzo's the big boss, like a mob boss sitting in the back of the smoke and mirrors, and she's there with the revolver. She's like, eat the banana.
Right.
Like, I don't see that happening. I just personally, I don't see that playing out the way that these whistleblowers, quote unquote, want it to play out. I don't see that. And I think that's a lot of the common sense and a lot of like the common denominators that people have when it comes to like vetting these stories. Like, of course there's people. That's why clickbait works so well. where there's people that read the extreme stuff. Like, oh, they fucking did it. We got her. Oh my God. And then there's also the people on the other end of the spectrum. They're like, that didn't happen. I don't believe anything. It's not going to fucking happen. It's just interesting how that, and then to bring it locally, like I've seen it happen where people talk and they take a narrative and run with it. And like, I'll know some of the people they're talking about. And I'm like, hey, you might not like this person, but I have a feeling that's not true. And it just happens. Oh, like, we were talking about how the internet accelerated exposure and accelerated, hey, I don't need to go play at a bar for 8 people to get my exposure, and that's what you pay me in. No, I can do that on my own now. I feel like that's kind of like the negative side of it, is that you get the wrong things about someone and the false things about someone can get exposed. And that just absolutely tanks a reputation for no reason at all.
Right.
And it's just absolutely fucking bananas to me. One question, to switch subjects, but one question I had to really pick your brain about. You mentioned earlier that you're married, right?
I'm getting married.
You're getting married.
Yes.
Okay. So you're engaged.
I am.
How long have you two been engaged for?
We've been engaged for 2 years.
Okay.
We've been together for 8.
8 years. So, and you've been in the band for 12. So the majority of your time in the band has been spent with this person. What does the touring aspect? I feel like this is something that people just really don't get told a lot of. It's like the, not the ugly side, but the trying side, the mentally, emotionally taxing side of show business. Like you're going out and you're touring. You've done South by Southwest 6 times, and you're going out, you're doing these things, and then you have to go to band practice. You're playing late shows. You're doing these. How do you balance that, and then also the more private part of show business, like the writing you do by yourself, the practicing you do by yourself,
of being a human?
where you got to be on your own, even if you're not with the band.
Yeah.
You have to be on your own to contribute to the band. How do you balance that while nourishing a relationship?
First of all, shout out to my future husband. Cruz is an amazing man. When we first started dating, we actually,
did he meet you like as the lead singer of? I just imagine, because I feel like a lot of our generation is just SpongeBob references, and I just imagine when Patrick saw Mindy, the princess from the King Neptune's daughter, from the SpongeBob movie. Whoa, you're hot.
Or the Wayne, I get the Wayne's World a lot. The swing, she's a babe.
So when he met you, he knew you as the lead singer. Okay.
Knew me as the lead singer. We were friends first. We actually worked together for a long time. And when we were really dating, I guess we've been dating when we were starting to date, I told him, I was like, so this is not a phase. Just so
Good
you
for
know.
you. There you go.
And that's the conversation that to have, and the people I had dated before him, because dating people as a performer in general, not even just as a musician, dating is hard as a human.
Yeah.
But being a performer, especially as an in all different aspects, actress, burlesque, oh my gosh, like the trust is the biggest thing.
If you don't mind, let's take a little piece of that.
Yeah.
As a burlesque performer, is that all here in New Mexico? Okay. What are stigmas that you fought against? Do you still burlesque? Okay, so I don't want to say it in the past tense. That's why I ask.
Yeah, no.
What are stigmas or preconceived notions that you're having to actively work against being a burlesque performer?
First of all, that you're just a stripper. First of all,
right?
Everybody's like, "Oh, so you're a stripper?" It's like, no. I strip tease, but it's not. There's such an art form that comes along with it, and it really is it's empowering. Like a lot of the women that I actually do burlesque with got into it because they were trying to find that piece of themselves. Burlesque, all of the modes of performance that I do feed a different part of my soul in a different way. Burlesque feeds that insecure little. I was an ugly duckling. Very much an ugly duckling. My family called me little Asian boy for every photo I had in high school and everything. So I was a very late bloomer. And I think
That's not right.
and I think there's a little, oh, dude, I had really big teeth and I had a lot of bangs and it was just, and nothing. So it just, it was a lot. Not who she is now. But, you know, I think that there is so many beautiful things that come from burlesque. And the biggest thing is that it's this sense of feeding that insecurity, whatever it is for you. For me, it was a different part of my soul that needed to be fed in that way. And I think that as a dating people, you know, that one was really hard for a lot of people to understand, because yes, you're literally taking off your clothes for other people. But it's about, like, I mean, for me, I take inspiration into all of my acts. Like, they're inspired. Like, I did a Fatal Attraction was my last act. Do you know that movie? Oh my gosh, Glenn Close, Michael Douglas. It's a 80s classic.
Yes, yeah.
With the bunny in the pot.
Yes.
I brought a knife on stage and like had a bunny in a pot that I like took out. It's like a whole thing.
Shit.
There's
okay,
so much more to burlesque that is like it's an act.
So
Each piece is different.
I've never been to a burlesque show.
Oh, you should. We have a fabulous burlesque community.
And for people that are listening that don't know what it is, they only see what they see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, in the end, you brought up yourself about, well, I'm not just a fucking stripper, right? So what is the difference between, for people that are uninitiated to it, right? What is the difference between like a strip show and then a burlesque show? Like how like stripped down are we getting? Like what's the whole? I know, like obviously the burlesque is on a stage and there's more production with it. There's a lot more lights involved, but
I don't know. There's a lot of lights at strip clubs, but I think the biggest thing is that burlesque can go, you have the gas and brakes in burlesque, right? Stripping is really driven by the consumer.
Right.
Because
and
that
there's an
consumer
expectation
wants you to get
full nude.
Right. Well, and do whatever that's going to happen there. In burlesque, it is more of you having the power of how much you show and how little you show.
Okay.
That's where the power comes from it.
Interesting.
Burlesque is more of an act. It's the tease. It's the art of the tease, right?
So I would imagine it's an 18 and older show.
Definitely
burlesque.
an 18 and older show.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
an 18 and older show. But it's about, you know, like making that elbow sexy as opposed to like the normal parts that you're like, oh, I love their hips. It's like, fuck, did you see her wrist? Like, oh.
We're going Amish, motherfuckers.
Oh. Well, because you watch, like, you see these beautiful women come out with like giant fans, right? And you can't see anything but their big feathers. And then all of a sudden you see like this hand come through and it's the sexiest hand you've seen. And you don't even care that it's just a hand. You want to see more, right?
Oh, okay.
It's that idea of more.
Okay.
And that, like, when you do finally get to it, and I know plenty of burlesque dancers that don't get full nude. I know a lot of, well, most of them don't. I know a lot of them that do get, like, down to, like, a little piece of tape. It's up to you.
Right.
It's and nobody's there to tell you, like, you have to be this much. You have
I
to
think
show
that's
this much.
I was going to say, I think that's the biggest distinction. I would imagine is like you have complete control over what, and there's no
You do.
expectation of.
And that's what makes it empowering.
Okay.
Is that it's your sexy. It's literally, it's you embodying your best self, you know, is that world.
Makes
but
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So dealing with that and then dealing with just like dating and
Well,
human interaction is just crazy.
I think people liked, so I think my biggest challenge with dating before was like, people like the idea of me. And this I think will add up to kind of like an answer for your whole thing of like dating performers in general. Like, you know, it's a lot of work and it's all the time thing. Like there are days that I'll see crews for 5 minutes at a time. And it's when we got up and when I got home. Or sometimes it's when I'm in between the next thing, going to the next thing, because I come home really quickly to change, to go to the next show, to go to do something else, because I'm hustling, right? People like the idea of a performer, because you like the idea of being kind of in that limelight a little bit, you know, of, oh, I get to say I'm with this person. But what comes with being with that is picking that person up when they're really fucking low and picking that person like on days that it's hard to pick that person because it feels like they're picking everyone but you. And know that at the end of the day, I would rather pick you. You know, like, and that's I think what keeps us so strong is that, like, at the end of the day, I'm always like, I pick you. Like, and if it comes down to it, and that's the decision, I will at the end of the day, of course, pick you. It's important to make that time and to make those sacrifices and having a person who's along for that ride. Because it really is. I mean, you also have to stand. I mean, it's not even just the time that you spend outside of it, like, I'm not talking to you. I'm writing right now. I'm not doing this. I'm working on my recording right now.
Like the solo, you're not with the band. You're not with your fellow performers, but you're still doing something solo that has to contribute to what that's going to end up looking like. So therefore, I need to be on my own right now.
I need to go in that room and run my act like 19 times. So you're going to hear the same song over and over and over and over.
So like the second Christmas together, you guys were really integrated. You're really in love. The best, that biggest Christmas present for that year, noise canceling headphones.
Oh, I have yet to get him noise canceling headphones. That's this year's present. Oh my gosh. I need to get him that. How have I not? But I think really, I'm very blessed because he is so fucking patient, man. Oh, he's so patient and just and wonderful. Like, because you have to, dude. So that's what I was gonna say. Not only the time that, like, it takes away from us as a couple, but also even when you go to the show, like, I have to talk to everyone else. I'm not even there with you, which was really hard. I've had so many. I had a dude who came to a show, mid-show, left, right? So I'm on stage, I'm playing, and he's standing in the middle of the show, and then, like, gives me this look of just like, and leaves. Okay, and I can't do anything. Like,
right.
What am I going to do, chase you?
Yeah,
no.
what is he expecting?
Right.
To have a Hallmark moment off the stage? Like,
right.
No.
I mean... and then came back. We finished playing, whatever. He didn't show up. Came back after we were done. I was like loading out and came up and was like, I felt like you saying that about me. And I was like, excuse me? He was like, yeah, I was embarrassed because you saying that about me. And I was like, well, first of all, you're so vain. I bet you think this song is about you. But second, like, how dare you behave like that? I was like, this is not going to fly at all. Like, you don't get to behave like that in my show. We dated for a little bit longer, but he was never allowed to come to shows again.
And that's not going to last long.
Oh, no. That's my whole life, dude. It was like a pity month.
Like, hey, listen, dude. I hate to break it to you. Nobody knows who you are but me. I'll take a step for nobody knows you're here. You could leave. You did leave. And guess what happened? That little spot you had, it got taken. What the fuck do you think this is?
Dude, and also, I had written that song like a year before we had even met.
Oh, my God.
So it was like, it's a whole lot of egos, man. Egos. And
crazy.
And then it was like, I mean, I've had people I've been with that are like, oh, you're spending too much time talking to this person. I'm like, that's my job.
Yeah.
My job is to talk to these people.
Yeah, that is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. So one of my buddies who's a comedian here, I've become friends with him. One of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me was, if you ever start doing comedy, start doing shows, show up early to say hi to everybody and make sure you stick around to say goodbye.
Yep.
Because, especially as a comedian, he goes, this is what makes us different from musicians. You're going to go up there, you're going to be a fucking asshole sometimes, and those people aren't going to like you for what you have to say. But if they have a idea of who you are before you get up there, they can at least see that as a character. And then when you say goodbye and you're the same person, you had a great show. All right, you didn't make anybody mad, hopefully. You can't control that, but hopefully they come back. And again, that makes you a good person to say hello and goodbye. That's what you're taught as a kid, right? Say hi to your family members when they come by. Say goodbye to your family members when they come by, right?
Oh, it takes me half an hour to leave anywhere because I have to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah,
like,
but that's you as a performer, as a businesswoman, and that's also the love of the game. Why wouldn't you say what's up to everyone that now, granted, we all motherfuckers are playing out in Sled and all that shit. You can't say goodbye to thousands of people. But, for now, enjoy it. Enjoy that shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy, though, for someone to get... That's crazy.
Dude, and it goes back to the idea of a performer, but really what comes along with it is all of this extra work. And really, like, I mean, somebody was like, I want to date a guitarist just because I feel like it would be so wonderful and they can like sing me songs and all that. I'm like, have you dated a guitarist? I'm like, good luck. But like, it is like, yes, there are these cute moments that there are those cute moments that you get to be privy to, right? That you get to see this, like, oh, I got to see when that was written. I got to see what sparked them. But if you don't want to be a part of that and you don't love it as much as your person loves it, like, that's the other thing, is you have to find somebody that's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I get what
Yes.
you're doing. You know?
They love your passion through you.
Mm-hmm. You see,
Yeah.
dude, go next show you go to, watch the crowd. Because you'll spot the partners. They're at the front when they play. They're at the merch booth when they're done. They're there. They're their cheerleaders. They're their biggest things.
Yep.
Dude, and we should shout out our partners more. Like, it takes a lot to be along this road with us. It's hard to date a performer. It's really hard because you also have to not be jealous. Like, that was a big conversation that Cruz and I had too, was I was like, I am asking a lot. And I know I'm asking a lot because I'm asking you to blindly trust me that I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to play in bars with a bunch of people that are going to probably be attractive and probably not, you know, but trust that, like, you are my choice and that, like, that's not going to matter. You know, I'm going to be in a van with 5 dudes for days on end.
They aren't going to be attracted to me by day 3, motherfucker. Like, just keep that straight. They're going to be sick of me. They're going to slow down to 15, throw me in front of the house, and drive on.
Everybody tells the boys, they're like, oh, is it hard traveling with a girl? And they're like, she's worse than us. I'm like, I can get in a van and roll, dude. I am like,
That's funny. That's funny. Well, it's important to have those conversations.
It is, and I think having honest conversations, you know, and now that being said, you don't get to be a jerk and just like walk around and be like, oh, it's fine, babe, like, we're just talking business. Like, don't flirt, don't be a jerk.
No, there's respect.
You know,
They're
there's
all
respect.
at the core of any relationship,
Exactly.
romantic, friendly, business. Otherwise, there's a level of respect, and with something like that, it's more not precious, but it's more like breakable. That respect. It's
precious.
It's more fragile.
You're right. It is precious. It is.
Yeah.
It can be fragile, and it can't, because I mean, I think depending on how you treat it, you can make it as fragile or not.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you're 100% right. It is precious, and the thing that, yeah, at the end of the day, we have mad respect for each other. Yeah, he like helped me through a lot of this music career, which has been interesting, ups and downs and all of it, and crying many days in COVID of like, what am I gonna do? I contribute nothing to this world.
What was COVID like for the band?
For the band, it was interesting because we were gigging hard. We were like on the road at least like 1, if not 2 weekends out of the year. Like out of the month, we would go like Colorado and then back, and then Texas and then back, and then like play, get in the car, drive.
Yeah.
And then it was just stop. You know, it all was like gone. So, and I think it was interesting because all of us I think everybody that hustled really hard got a much needed break. In your questionnaire you sent me, right? You asked me, you're like, if you could have $1 million and like all the things, like enough money to just have your dream job, what would it be? I'm like, stay at home dog mom.
Little behind the scenes of the podcast here. I have a little questionnaire for some people. For all people. That's I'm not gonna put that down. Yes, and everyone a fucking
I loved it. I was like, oh yay.
That's what I hope. Because I was like, man, I don't know if I should do that or not, but I want to seem professional, but I want to seem unprepared. I do my research. I do these.
It came out very professional. And I think it was nice that I think it was very nice that you asked, you know, like, what would you like not want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? You know, it's very good. the questionnaire.
Thank you.
I loved it. Don't lose it. I think it was a great. Yes.
Thank you.
As someone who has been on the podcast and shows and things, that's great. But yeah, it was. I think it was a big reset for me, and it put a lot of shit into perspective for me. And it was hard because we also lost our drummer in that time. Not that he died. He didn't die.
Oh, I was like,
No, I realized how that sounded. He didn't die. He's very much alive. He's living his best life. He's coming back for my wedding. He's a great guy. He's wonderful. No, he moved.
Okay.
And it was one of those that, like, you know, it was a move for his family and it made a lot of sense. And, you know, and you can't, as much as you want to hold on to it, right? Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And that was devastating for me because it really felt like on top of COVID.
Because you said 8 to 10 years he was in the band, right?
Mm-hmm. And so it was right when we had like barely started playing some shows again. We had that summer music spot for Sawmill like 2021, I think, or 2021. Sawmill started doing their summer music series where they like had bands
I heard
on
of
the
that.
courtyard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we had like their August slot, and we had been asked to play a lot of shows, and, you know, we as a band were very COVID conscious because, you know, we had a lot of family members that were at high risk in our little bubble and things. And so we were taking it really easy. But then when he broke that news to us, it felt like, oh, it's over. And I felt like, oh my God, Red Light is over. And I really thought in like 2021 that, like, I was like, this is going to be the last show I play as Red Light Cameras. And then Barney and I had a big discussion. So Barney and I have been through 3 outfits of this band, and remade it, trained new members, got them caught up, rewrote, found a new sound, did it again. And we had a big talk, and I was like, kid, do you want to do this anymore? I was like, because I don't know if I'm done. Are you done? And he was like, I'm not done. And so we were like, all right, boom. We put out a Facebook of like, hey, does anybody, like, Barney was like, list me your top 100 drummers. And then our DMs were just like, are you looking for a drummer? So are you looking for a drummer? And I...
Oh, shit. How did that feel? To get so many, like, whether it's suggestions, whether it's, like, inquiries about it, like, that's got to feel good.
It was good. It felt cool. It was really cool.
That's got to feel good.
It felt good. I mean, it's always baffling to me, man. Like, all of this stuff, like, I'm just like, really? Like, I think I'm such a dork. Like, I think I'm such a weirdo that, like, the people are like, oh, yeah, you're like, oh, I'm like, me? Like, this one? I'm thankful for it every time. And really, when everybody reached out and wanted to help, I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kick-ass.
You know, and it made me feel good about what we've done, you know? Because I feel like now, like, I'm in this, like, cocooning period where I'm just, like, trying to butterfly out, you know? I'm like, what is next for me in, like, music world? And what I want for, you know, our community and things. And I want to see our scene grow. And I want to make a music union where everybody's, like, getting treated well and getting, like, paid. And maybe if you prove, like, Austin has this music union where if you prove you gig enough, the state provides you benefits. I would love.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
No wonder there's so much fucking local music there. That's what's interesting about Austin is they have local music that stays local, like, by choice. That makes a lot of sense.
And I want that for our city.
Wow, that's cool.
You know, and I want to, like, build something like that. So I don't know, like, thinking about, I don't even know how we got on that topic.
Well, because how you were saying how after COVID, your drummer left, you guys had the conversation of, hey, I'm not done, you're not done. Okay, sounds good. Let's get this shit back together, and then talk about your aspirations and stuff. That's right. That's a good fucking idea.
Thank you. So everybody listening, this is my goal. Come to my hive. Let's do this. I'm calling on all of you, all those names written on that poster. And then when we built this version of Red Light, it just kind of blew up again. Like it felt like a whole new surge of life, and it felt like we got this new beast out of it, you know? And so it's been really, really fun and really exciting, and just like getting to see how it's grown in that kind of crazy way. But I think that like as it continues, because I mean, I just want to see how far I can take this thing. I really think that it could be something really cool.
What was the retraining like for new people coming into the band between you and Barry and Barney, get people back together?
Yeah. So luckily, I mean, these boys are great. Aaron Vega, who joined, Justin Salazar also, they came homework ready.
Aaron plays
guitar.
and Justin is on drums. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Mag Kim, who also had his other project in town, is called Gerending. But he joined after Chris left us, and that was pre-COVID. So we had just got Mag all caught up, and we were starting to write new music with Mag when COVID hit. So then we were like, okay, then we weren't seeing each other, we weren't jamming, we weren't doing anything. It was just practicing to survive, essentially, of like, we would just make a set list and practice that set list just so we could be able to play that, right?
I mean, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Joey left and Barney and I had this talk, I was like, well, what if we really change it, dude? What if we like make it bigger? And Aaron and I, so the other guitarist and I work together. I have a Selena tribute band, and he's the guitarist for that. And
hence the shirt, I'm sure.
I mean, I love her. He was the guitarist for that. And actually we were at practice one day, and he started playing Caged on guitar, like while we were setting up for Selena practice. And I was like, I know that. Like, where do I know that song? And I looked at him, I was like, how do I know that? And he's like, you do. It's yours. And I was just like, fuck. I was like, that's why. And then he played like 4 more like choruses of my songs.
Beautiful.
And he's like, I'm just saying, if you ever need a guitarist, I'm here.
Subtle fucking application right there.
Right? I mean, and then so I called him and I was like, hey, how would you feel? And I mean, it's electric. Like, just getting up there. We had a big discussion when they also joined, where I was like, this is the train you're on.
Nice.
Right? I was like, this is how we
Again,
do
professional.
things.
Fair enough. Yeah.
This is how we do things. This is what I expect. This is what we're going to do moving forward. And it's been that. And every show is professional, and they fucking rock. And we bring that, like, my concern was, I was like, how am I going to break in someone to get to because we just go wild up there. You know, like Barney and I, like, that's our release. Like, we just freaking let loose.
It looks fucking cathartic. It does. Like, because when I first saw you guys play, I was at the, when I go to Launchpad, with very few exception, I like being at the top balcony so I can see over and watch the whole production happen. Yeah, it was like you're releasing some demons up there. Just boom, explosive shit going on. So that makes perfect sense.
Like, that was Tuesday. That was Wednesday. Just releasing
this
it
was
all.
that bitch at Starbucks. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. But, you know, and it takes a lot to build to that. Like, that doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that, like, in the work that I've done with, like, other performers in town too, you know, where I'm like, hey, step up there. Like, come on, go out there. You're singing, step forward. Hey, is that your guitar solo? Go. Get in the front. Get forward. Be there, you know? And it's something you have to grow into, and something that you have to find within yourself, because it's uncomfortable to watch when it doesn't work, you know, when it's like forced. But when you find it, and when you find, because it's not going to look the same for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Leroy, I call him my son. Just watching it, like, because he gets out on, like, the speakers, which is, like, my move. And I'm just like, yes, do it, you know? And you see each other, and you're just like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm so proud that, like, you are brave enough.
Yeah.
Because it's bravery. It's being brave, because you're, like, breaking that fourth wall there, right? And, I mean, a majority of times you see, like, it's very hard. I see so many, I guess I shouldn't say majority, but there's so many times you see very talented, fucking amazing, talented musicians who play like this and who do their whole show like this.
Yeah.
That if you just brought it up and
Well,
brought
it
it
diminishes. I don't know how it does it, but it diminishes the sound.
it diminishes your power.
Like the way as an audience member, I feel like your body, no matter how great you are on your instrument or as a vocalist, your body language like diminishes the effect of the music.
Well, think about it. If you're doing everything here, it's just here.
Yeah.
Your show is right here. If you're walking around and doing this, and you're walking around and like going like and not making it's here. And you're right, it gets quiet. And even though it isn't quiet, even though it's like magnified because it's in a microphone, it's quiet.
It feels quiet.
It does.
Yeah.
But if you open it up, right, and like you bring it out, it brings this whole other element of the show, and then you get to feel how they feel, and that's what makes you do it again.
You bring up Leroy. What has it been like? And we've obviously like sprinkled on this throughout. What has it been like for you being able to personally mentor a few people in the scene? Because I've both on the podcast and off, I've had a few people say like, yeah, she helped me out with this. She helped me out through this rough time. She really helped our band get it together. Or like, I didn't know if I wanted to do this anymore, but she didn't talk me into it. She reminded me of why I love it. Like being able to like influence like that and be able to really, again, like mentor younger musicians, being that person that can be at the top of their game, but also like prepare the next, like the next guard that comes in. Like, what has that done for you as a performer? What has that done for you as a musician, as a person? Like, how does that affect the way you go about things now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we talked about it a little bit before, right? Of, keeping something for yourself, where it's like, why? I mean, I'm not the most talented person. I'm not the best person on stage. Like, I hold my own, but like, why keep it for me? Why not give it to everybody else? And for me, I don't see the scene as like red light cameras as the scene. I see the scene as it is us. I want our scene to be good. And if that means that I'm going to help you be a better musician, then fuck yeah. Because I want everybody to know how fucking talented you are and how amazing you are. Because that's not how, dude, not helping each other reach our full potential is not how we get better. Right? And you can see it in each other.
Yeah.
And whether you use that to, I think people do one of a few things. You either see it, you recognize it, and you use it to make you better. You see it, you're threatened by it, and you let it control you or let it like affect you in a negative way. You see it, and you run from it because you just don't know what to do with it, right? So for me, I want everyone to see it. I want everyone to see it and lean in. And if I can help you, then I want that. And I feel like one day I'm not going to play anymore, right? Like I've already...
No. No.
No, you're going to...
All my friends are going to keep playing.
I mean, I've already got my chiropractor's like, you put yourself through a car accident every show. He's like, your neck is fucked.
You know what? I was thinking that. So, because I went to Sister last Saturday when the Slums were playing, and props to them because there's a fucking mosh pit they opened up, and I was shocked. But anyway, I woke up the next morning, and my neck was just like, oh, good Christ. And I remember getting into every time after a concert where I like, headband, I'm going around, I think about a really nasty car accident I got into in 2017 where I had bad whiplash for like 5 days. Like 5 days, my neck was like, oh shit. And granted, after a concert, it's like a day, maybe a day and a half if you went hard. But I'm thinking about like, how are these performers going like fucking this and going all this nonsense?
Tiger bomb.
Like, yeah? Well, fuck. If that's the secret, I'm going to buy a Costco-sized thing of Tiger Bomb. God. But no, I think about that, about the wear and tear that happens. I guess unless you consciously have to think about it as an audience member, that's not what registers to you. It's really not.
Did you watch The Wrestler?
When it with Mickey Rourke when it first came out, yeah.
So I think that movie is a great movie for performers to watch because it shows our world so well.
Well, who fucking works? I mean, there are like some hard, bad, obviously, like the actual combat sport in the world, wild, boxing, fucking UFC. All those guys are like obviously utmost respect, but. The guys, I never really understood how hard pro wrestlers went until they started going on a podcast and talking about it in long form. Like Undertaker, he went on Rogan last year or 2 years ago, and he just talked about how, out of 365 nights a week, I wrestled 310.
Dude.
You're getting put through a table 310 nights a week.
Staple guns through your arm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's insane.
I mean...
Yeah.
And the things we do for the thing we love.
Yeah.
Right? The things we put ourselves through. But
all right, next time I go to a fucking red light cameras, if there's not a motherfucker getting put through a table, I'm gonna submit a formal complaint to your manager. Hey, I was promised professional wrestling at this venue. Where's my staple gun? She said
it's happening. Hey, that hair flip, that's my staple gun.
No, like yes, I was. You took the words right out of my mouth. The way you fucking move and run and you're swinging, what the fuck, man? Again, I just think about the whiplash that I get after an hour of a set, and I'm like, I'll never be a musician. I'll never do it.
Oh, but do it. It's fun.
I'll stick to stand up. I'll stick to
hey, stand up is hard.
Professional shit talking. I'll stick to that.
Do it. I'm excited. I'm gonna come see you.
Oh boy.
I'm excited.
Well, I gotta start writing then. Shit, writing good things. I write every day, but good stuff is maybe 10 of it. So 10% of it so far. But anyway, so I was talking about performing and
my babies.
Yes. So the influence. The influence you've had on the scene. Like, how does that influence you as a musician, as a person, as a performer?
I mean, it influences me to do better, to keep doing it, to keep doing more. I love what I do. And I think that like our scene changed so much after COVID, because all these people who are sitting at home just playing music,
they figured it out
and came out hot. Like I watched a lot of these bands, like there's a growing period for a lot of bands, right? Where like you play some little shows here and there and you kind of like work your way in. There was a lot of bands that came out the gate just good to go, ready and hot. And I think that as a musician, it makes me feel good because I feel like what I've done, I'm sharing what I've learned. I'm sharing what I've learned, and that's what, it's good karma. Yeah. It's good karma, and it's good music karma. And then I think as a member of the community, like that's what I wanted. We talked about how hard it was for me when I started, and that I was like, I don't want to create that community. I don't want that to be our community. Yeah. And the people that the thing is that the people that did accept us, like when we got into that community, I will never fucking forget them. I've watched a lot of their kids and I love them all. And they're just like, awesome. and those are friendships that I'll never let go of, because they gave me that chance and they gave me that moment. And I was like, I want to be that person for someone, and I think that that's how we make ourselves better. And like I told you, I want to play on a playing field with the best. Yeah. I want to be out here with the best. I don't want to be the best against some other mediocre things. No. I want to be in a good playing field where we're all lifting each other up and doing this. And so I feel like that's what I'm contributing by doing that.
Well, it elevates you inherently. And I'd imagine that obviously I'm not in a place like you are, but being able to inspire others and give mentorship to others, that only makes you better, like you just said, right? And then when you elevate people to your level or close to it, right? And they obviously they have to do their own work, we've talked about, But as they elevate and get to your level, it's the iron sharpens iron, and steel sharpens steel.
Yes.
And like, and I've told them this at fucking nauseum, but the guys that I've become friends with the slums, like I tell them, like that's why I fuck with you guys so hard. I tell this to the mango cakes. I've told this to especially Jaron over to Side Montero. I tell these guys, like, I fuck with you guys and I hang out with y'all because you guys, I get done watching your show, I get done talking to you guys on and off camera, and I'm like, I got to get my shit together. I now want to go work harder. I now want to go and do these things better. And I have, like, my friends I've known for over a decade, and they're all in this house. Like, my 3 roommates, I have known those fuckers for over 10 years, and I love them to death. And they push me to fucking work harder and be better. Yeah. I mean, they've let us have this space for almost 3 hours. You know, they are so supportive of me, and I could not be, you know, happier about it.
Thank you, roommates.
Yeah, minus the little microwave beeping in the back, but it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's having people in your purview, no matter how close or, you know, far away from you they are. Having those people in your life is very important in general, but especially so if you're doing something of any kind of creative endeavor. You need to have the people that push you to do better, and then if you can elevate and motivate people to be better than that, I mean, fuck, that's got to be awesome,
dude. And also not just the people that are going to push you to be better, but the people that are going to have those hard conversations with you, you know, that are going to say, like, hey, like, don't get in your own way, you know, and that, like, because for me, like,
having yes men is never good. I
was just going to say, I'm like, yes men are like the worst friends to have, you know, because it's not going to make you better. You need those people that are going to are going to tell you the truth in all of it too. So
at what point for yourself, because obviously you had to have hit a point where a lot of people are telling you, you guys are great, you guys are great, you guys are great. At what point did you stop? Because I know that, like, that's something that I struggle with, where it's like, I don't accept hardly anybody telling me that I'm good at anything because I don't know if I've earned it yet. You know what I mean? So for yourself, when did you get to the point where it's like, oh wait, I'm talented. They're right. Yeah, I am good. I am great. Hey, wait a minute. Like, was there a moment where that clicked, or was that like a gradual over time where it's like, hey, I'm going to become more comfortable with this? Because I've got a bad habit of giving people advice that I don't follow. And I was telling that to Nick from the slums. I was like, allow yourself to succeed, man.
Yeah.
Allow that to happen, but I can't let that for myself to happen quite yet. Was there ever that time for you, or is that just like a on-set thing?
I mean,
at some point you got to say yes to your praisers, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes and. I mean, I think it's a day-to-day thing. I think that there's some days that I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I feel like $1 million. I'm on top of the world. I got a TV show coming out. Like, I feel amazing.
Which we're still going to get to. Yes.
But then there's other days that you're just like, man, it's really hard to be me today. And I think that's just human nature. But I think that, like, I am my heart. Like, everybody, you hear people say, like, I am my harshest critic. Like, I am my harshest critic. I critique myself as a performer so much that I think a lot of people, like, don't realize. They're like, oh, you look like you're having so much fun and you're so free. I'm like, I am. But a lot of that comes from me also doing all of this really, like, hard work with myself.
Yeah.
You know? And it's hard to sometimes hear, you know, oh my gosh, you're so great, because it's, like, there's part of you that doesn't believe it. And I think that's, like, there's part of me that doesn't let myself believe it, you know? And I feel like I have imposter syndrome a lot, where I'm just kind of like, I'm doing this thing and it's so weird. Like, it's crazy. Like,
how do you remedy that? Because even in this, with its infancy, like, I had that. That's why I put it on my story a couple of weeks ago. Like, I looked at my schedule. It's like, I'm booked out till fucking November.
Yeah.
With like 2 to 3 guests. Why?
Because I think.
Why? How do you remedy that as a person?
It's gonna sound cliche, I think, a little bit, but I think of the sun. It's gonna sound so stupid. I think of the sun. because there's so many times that like I dampen my shine, right? And we as people dampen our shine for other people. And I think that we are the first people to tell ourselves like, no, you can't celebrate, right? And it feels like we are so ingrained as humans to be like, oh, the betterment of other people, like be humble, be this, be, you know, if you do advocate for yourself, you're coming off as cocky, you're coming off as arrogant, you're coming off in this weird way. So we take it away from ourselves before someone else does, right? It's easier for me to tear myself down than to have somebody else tear me down, because that'll hurt more. So I'm going to do it before someone else can. Right. So I think that we get in our own way in that sense. I think of the sun, because who fights the sun? No one. I'm going to be the sun. And in those moments, I think of being the sun, of like, no one's going to fight me because I'm a giant ball of fire and like I'm coming at you. And you remember that like that you like we've been talking about, right? There's this bigger collective of we. There's this bigger collective of community and all these things, and finding your place in that, but remembering that you are the only one of you. There is no other you. And that's what makes me be like, fuck yeah, I am the only me. Like, I may not be the most talented person on that bill that night, but there is no other Amanda Machon on that bill, you know? And kind of be the sun.
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty fucking good. That was motivational as shit. Holy fuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a damn good mentality. I have nothing for that. That was just amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
My whole thing, my only purpose right now is to not be speechless. That's my only thing.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes, that's awesome.
So on the next day,
yes,
that you've got what am I doing here? Why am I having this podcast? It's because you're the sun. No one's going to fight the sun.
I'm going to kick down my fucking roommate's door. I'm the sun, bitch. And then close it. He won't know what the fuck is going on. He will not know what the fuck is going on.
I really hope someone calls me and is just like, so they told me they're the sun, and
I was told to bill you for the damages.
I mean, they just kept screaming, I am the only me. I don't know.
So, man, so I saw that teaser for your new show.
Yes.
And I gotta be honest, it fucking blew me away. No, because like that's why. So you brought up a little bit earlier how like you went to South by Southwest that first time. It wasn't the best experience for you like as a band, but then you came back and everyone was like, "Oh fuck, you fucking went to that's awesome! You went to South by Southwest. This is awesome." So that's the feeling that I got. I know a lot of our mutual friends got when that dropped, because it's like, oh shit, like Albuquerque's getting another really cool professional thing. This is fucking awesome. Yes. So what made you, and this is a question that I had for a guest that I had more than a few months ago. She does a lot of like social media marketing and like highlighting of local businesses in New Mexico, and like just fun things to do here and amazing things. Like, because I would imagine, again, being born and raised here, that's quite the endeavor, because of how much negative and how much like metaphorical but also literal violence that is here in Albuquerque. What made you want to say, yeah, I'm going to go do something that's highlighting the city that I live in?
So my biggest thing, I love Albuquerque. I think we are a little diamond in the rough, out here in the desert. And it really breaks my heart because you hear it so much. People are like, oh, there's nothing to do. Oh, it's Albuquerque. Oh, it's this. Bro, go outside and look. Like, there's so many cool things happening. I think so embracing this like love letter. One of the things the crew and we were talking about while we were filming this show was that this is we want this to be like our love letter to Albuquerque.
So were you approached to do this, or is this like a brainchild of yours?
They approached me.
Okay.
Yeah, they approached
cool.
me to
It's
do
just,
it.
just so we can set the stage for what this started out as.
So what this is, so the show is actually part of a streaming app. It's called Very Local.
Okay.
And so the idea behind the app is that it's supposed to bring you closer to like your local city, and also as like a travel app for people outside to get an insider's idea of that city, right? Because it's so easy to go on and Google Milwaukee and be like, all right, well, I'm going to go to this place. But how many times have you been to a city where you're like, oh, I Googled this spot, and all the locals are like, no, dude, you can't go there. That's the worst. You have to go to this.
Well, even like a Sunday night here, and I'm like, fuck, I don't really know what's open right now. Where do I want to eat? And I look up food, and it gives me fast food restaurants. It's like, well, what if I want fucking local? Like,
Right. So this app is very local. It's all about.
You're
about,
a
like,
great
the local
spokeswoman.
things. Thank you.
I see what.
Comes with it, right? With a smile. But it is, and that's what excited me about the project was I was like, oh, we're not just going to be covering the things that people know Albuquerque for, right? Like we're known for balloons and we're known for chili and things like that. But there's also a really amazing, the National Institute of Flamenco is based out of New Mexico here for the country.
I did not know that.
We have an amazing, we know we have the lowrider community. We have an amazing b-boy community that is out here as well. We also have like great people, like there's so many great things that we got to highlight in this show, that aren't normally highlighted. And the biggest thing, like you even mentioned, there's kind of this underending of like tone of, oh, Albuquerque's really violent. You go to any city, you have that.
Yeah.
Ours just had a show made out of it. You go anywhere and they're like, oh, Albuquerque, oh, Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody knows us for Breaking Bad. I'm like, have you been to the Appalachian Mountains? There's a lot of drugs there. But there's a lot of other things too. Like, there are scary places all over.
There's a lot of scary places. We just happen to be the prettiest. I know. Sorry.
But our skies, bro. But our skies. Yeah, and I'm very proud of this city. And also being a touring musician, like for a while Albuquerque became, and it was for many reasons. Like we're a great stop city. If you look at like a tour map, we're a great stop city to stop in. But a lot of bands started passing us over, and New Mexico really became a like drive day state for a lot of places because and that's on us. That's on us. Albuquerque, show up to local shows. Show up. If you see somebody who's touring, go and show up. Go and see them. But we started doing that again. We started doing that, and we started showing up, and we started leaning in to our city, and that made people come. And that made people come and understand and contribute to it. So Albuquerque has this thing where we're very precious. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, if you know when someone from Albuquerque loves you because they love you. They either can't, you either don't know where you stand with them or they love you.
Yeah.
And that's because we love fiercely and we protect what's ours fiercely, right? To a detriment sometimes, I think. I think that sometimes we get in our way of that, of like not embracing the cool things that come to our city, and that could make our city better and make our city bigger and better. I'm hoping that this show not only gets to show everybody else how cool and how wonderful we are, but also us. Because I think that there's a lot of us as locals here that are stuck in this mindset of like, oh, well, we're just Albuquerque. Let's change that. Let's change that narrative. Like, we're not just Albuquerque. Like, Kate Gerwin said it really well. She says, we're making waves in the desert. And I want to be part of that ocean. I want to make waves in this desert, And when she told me that, I was like, yeah, we're making waves.
That was in the teaser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're making waves in this desert. And I've carried that with me since she said that. And I was just like, yeah, like it should be this cool... we get in our way where we aren't seeing it, and I really hope that it's going to be this cool thing that locals love as much as I love it, because I really had a lot of fun doing it. And I feel like you're going to watch me just be the gigantic dork that I am. And I hope you have fun, and I hope that it's fun, because we had a lot of fun doing it. But yeah.
That's so fucking awesome. I'm excited to see it. No, for real. I'm super fucking excited to see it.
Yeah, so you can stream it.
Yes.
So that's the best way to see it.
So the app is called Very Local.
Yes.
Okay.
Very Local is the app.
And you have a premiere happening on Friday.
Friday is our premiere.
Yes.
It is a free premiere down at the Chemo. So if anybody wants to come.
Free, you fucks.
Free. Come. Oh my gosh. Let's show up, Albuquerque. Because also, the thing is that if we show them that we are here and
there's an appetite for it.
Yes, that there's an appetite for it, then we're going to get more things like this, and we're going to get more recognition, you know? Yeah, come see it. The premiere's on Friday, the 25th. The premiere of the show, where it's going to be available streaming, and we're going to release one every week. It starts on the 24th, so that's this Thursday.
Okay. Sweet.
Yes. And you can download the Very Local app. It's also going to be available on like all major streaming services, so like Amazon Fire Stick, like Roku as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, all of your big streaming.
Yeah, there's money
platforms.
behind it. Hell yeah. Fuck. Okay, so Thursday they can download the app and get. Well, the app's available now, but the actual episode is available on Thursday.
Yes.
Friday at the Chemo at 6. Mm-hmm. Right. Friday.
6:30 is doors.
Okay.
Yes. Come. We're gonna do like a little step and repeat. The bar is gonna be there and things, and then we'll start the viewing at 7:30.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. That's about 3 hours right there.
Have we been talking for 3 hours?
That's about 3 hours.
It's just been a breeze.
This has been a fucking blast. I am so glad that you came by and we got to do this.
Yes.
This has been I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad that we could. I think frankly, this has been one of the quickest turnarounds between hey, I wanna, hey, we're doing it that I've had. Because there's like a very, very few like, okay, if I get to land this person, I will move things around. I will make exceptions. And this is one of them right here.
Hey.
This has been a fucking blast.
I mean, I make shit happen, Noah. If I want it to happen, I make shit happen. So thank you for having me.
That's why you're on top. This has been fucking awesome. Does Red Light Cameras have anything new coming out? Any new shows coming up?
So we are on a brief hiatus. I'm getting married, so we're taking a little break, but we are working on recording.
Sweet.
We're going to be releasing our new single, Mahal, hopefully this fall. And then we have another single, which I'm super proud of. It's called Tiny Circles, and it's really just lovely. And we're actually going to be recording that hopefully before Christmas. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a blast. Seriously, I could not be more thankful for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Holy fuck.
Yay.
I am a happy camper.